close in 5 minutes. I got reservations at Chili's. I'm meeting my boys.
Hitchcock? It's not very good. Marijuana in my body, and it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Be sitting pretty, looking cool, sitting pretty.
Thank God it's Friday!
The guy!
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, John Idaho with you guys. Huge show ahead. Israel's a new list of demands for us. We'll get to that later in the program. 10 different things that we must do. Otherwise, of course, we're all anti-Semites. We've got Donald Trump falling apart at the seams. We have the first lady of the Pentagon, or is it the first lady of war now? And that incredibly strange relationship. Israeli officials say they need to kill more people in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. Ukraine and Russia continue to hit each other in their capitals. The world is falling apart at the seams. But good news, you're here with us and everything's gonna be okay. Also, further good news, not in the rundown today, but it should be noted, Aisha Wahab has won Eric Swalwell's old seat. So down goes AIPAC, down goes AIPAC. That's another vote to defund Israel, another vote against AIPAC. Collect them in your AIPAC Tears mug, and that's at shoptyt.com, okay? So we got this thing, our cup runneth over now with all these AIPAC Tears. So now AIPAC went from invincible to can't win an election. So it is an amazing turn of events here in America, to which we'll partly say you're welcome. Okay, so having said all of that, let's get started with the first story. Here we go again, more MAGA civil war. This time, Marjorie Taylor Greene taking on Donald Trump, not on Israel or the war, but on tariffs and betraying American, not just manufacturers, but farmers and ranchers. And it's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's also other right-wingers you wouldn't expect going against Donald Trump on this issue. So John has the whole story for us.
You might say MAGA's got beef with each other.
Oh, what?
But you probably shouldn't, that's not good enough. But anyway, let's jump into what's actually going on. So this morning, Trump bleated out on Truth Social, "Today I concluded a deal to substantially lower the price of ground beef for working American families. As everyone knows, under President Biden, beef prices soared at their fastest rate, and the American beef herd fell to its smallest size in modern history. As we work to rebuild this herd and help our ranchers, for the next 90 days, the US will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for ground beef to be imported with no out-of-quota tariff. We have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. This deal will reduce prices for Americans while giving space for our great American beef herd to grow again. Thank you for the attention to the matter." Okay, so there's some claims there. Some of that might be true. Some of it is objectively not true. For instance, the American beef herd has reached historic lows under, right now, it's Trump. He's the president right now, Biden's not the president. I know that there's this quantum state thing going on where if something's good in the rare cases, Trump gets credit, but if it's bad, Biden was president a minute and a half ago. It's not true, it's the worst it is right now. The prices of food are bad right now, inflation is bad right now. That's the situation he finds himself in. And so he's gonna try to bring in some foreign beef or whatever to get the price down because the price is objectively pretty high. He says he has a commitment that the beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. Sounds like communist price fixing to me, but he doesn't have a problem with it for some reason. In any event, the US started this year with the smallest herd since the 1950s, about 86.2 million cattle and calves. We can talk if we have time about why the herd has been trending down for 70 years. I don't think the right wants to talk about that, but we can. In any event, the cattle shortage has driven consumer beef prices to record highs, with ground beef selling for $6.89 a pound on average in July. That is up 10% from a year ago when Biden wasn't president, I'll remind you. So, what is the issue with this? Well, we're gonna get into all the criticism. It's coming from a variety of different sources. So you have Republican senators like Tim Sheehy, who claims that Trump's maneuver is going to benefit the meat packers rather than the cattle ranchers. And that shouldn't really be disputable. Like, Trump should be focusing on the fact that theoretically this benefits consumers. Why this would in particular benefit the herders makes no sense. It's a total lie. But Tim Sheehy is right that it will almost certainly benefit the meat packers right now. He says, "I've advised President Trump against this course of action for a year because American ranchers have been struggling against the packer monopoly for decades, and this will further harm them, most of whom are MAGA Republicans. The president's heart is in the right place on wanting lower prices for the American people, and beef prices have been impacted by the Mexican screwworm. But the reality is this action will make it more difficult for American ranchers to rebuild our herd and bring prices down for the American people. And most importantly, this will harm our ranching families who feed the nation." So that's on the Senate side. On the House side, former Representative Thomas Massie said, "What a slap in the face to American cattlemen and consumers, worse than socialism. Dumping foreign beef in US markets can temporarily lower prices, but it won't incentivize American farmers to raise more beef." Tomi Lahren said, if this is the plan, the very least that can be done is mandatory country of origin labeling so consumers know where the beef they're buying is coming from. Importing a bunch of foreign beef is just a giant gift to the meat packers, who then get to undercut our American ranchers who cannot differentiate their product from the cheap foreign crap. The American cattleman is being driven out of business so the land can be gobbled up for data centers and other bull crap. Look, I'm happy for any right winger who's gotten on board with the fight against the data centers and everything. I don't like, there's the weird xenophobic thing of the foreign crap beef. Is it necessarily worse? I don't think that necessarily follows, but it is obviously going to drive down the prices, and that does mean it's going to drive down the prices for the American cattle ranchers who sell it as well. They're not wrong about all of that. So we have more we can get to Marjorie eventually, but what do you make of this, Jake?
Yeah, two things I want to clarify. First, I don't get this whole thing about we're gonna let the herd grow again. How would lower prices incentivize farmers to grow their herd? They'd make even less for their herd. So it seems the exact opposite of what the market forces would create. So I don't know if they're bothering to explain it or have an excuse for why this would be affected the exact opposite of how a market would normally be affected. Or if they're just like, I don't know, just throw it in there. So, and it'll make, the 2/3 of MAGA that's left go, yeah, that's right. That's where we grow the cows that way. Because there's more bull crap that Trump just put out, and then that'll fertilize the soil, and then that'll get you more cattle. By the way, that might be their best argument. Okay, so no, it won't grow the herd. It might even shrink the herd more. So now, number two is, Tomi Lahren's new to the Trump critique, right? So she hasn't been part of the Marjorie Taylor Greene breakaway republic of, F Trumpistan. So good to have Tomi Lahren on this team on this issue for now, right? Doesn't mean you have to agree with her on everything. She's agreeing with us.
And on the data centers.
That's where I'm going with this. So first, I'm happy to have a new right winger on our side, at least on one issue. And it shows the weakness of Trump. Otherwise, she would never do this.
Totally, yeah.
Right. But the second part is that, hey, her talking points are one of them doesn't make sense to me, but the other one's great on the data centers, right? And that goes to show you what we were talking about yesterday on the show, which is the Republicans sent a memo to their own donors, which is hilarious. May we please beseech you to have permission to be against data centers slightly. Otherwise, we're all going to lose. We're going off a cliff as we speak, right? And they're like, and we won't be able to help you manipulate the American people and rob them blind if we don't exist. Please, pretty please, can we have an exemption to criticize data centers?
Yeah.
So that was an amazing memo by the Republicans. And it shows you who's in charge. So that's now bleeding over to their pundits. Oh, data centers, we care. Of course, we care about data centers. Oh, they're charging you extra. Oh, that makes me so mad. Yet we got caught. We have to pretend to be against it
until the election,
right? But hey, I'll take it. Good data centers that charge you more if your electric bill, etc. It's an absolute crime. It's a literal robbery. So if we've got momentum against that, that's wonderful. Now back to the part that I'm with you on. This is not important, right? But okay, you have to label between foreign beef and US beef. Good, I like labeling. Yeah, progressives like labeling, more information, more transparency, and so you get to know what you're buying. When I go abroad, sometimes there'll be these big signs saying, don't worry, no US beef used. So the signs might be counterproductive in some context. By the way, if you're wondering why, do I hate US beef and want the cattlemen to do poorly? No. I'm weirdly and over the top patriotic, and so I want our cattlemen to be the best cattlemen.
You've eaten a burger or two in your time.
Yeah, believe me, I have. I'm not like a vegan like Tallarico. I'm kidding. That's the latest. They're calling him vegan and gay. Based on nothing. He's on tape eating barbecue or whatever. Anyways, so I'm a well-known beef eater. I eat.
Second only to Jin, he's the beef eater.
Yeah,
here.
I will stand a post for decades on end without moving on things like money and politics. Okay, anyways, bottom line is we test less for our beef. it's not the cattleman's fault, but it is the industry that says, remember during mad cow disease, we covered this a long time ago, they would literally stand the cows up that couldn't stand because of mad cow disease and push them through the line. And the regulators were like, good enough. Why? Because they work for the industry, right? Yeah. So that's why a lot of the world was like, no US beef, because we have no regulations to protect our own consumers, because that got deregulated by the Republicans earlier.
Okay. Now they're using that same strategy in Mitch McConnell. Stand him up and push him through. Anyway.
Okay. So yes, but overall, hey, people coming to our side. Trump is wrong. I'll take it. Who else do you have?
Yeah, let's get to Marjorie Greene. I also just mentioned, like, again, we don't have a lot of time, but one of the reasons it's been hard to grow the herd of last decades is increasing drought. And do I need to explain why America is facing more and more drought over the years? Maybe it's something the right has refused to acknowledge is happening. Something to look into. In any event, it
might rhyme with climate change.
Maybe. Is that pig Latin? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so Marjorie Greene got fired up about something posted by Gunther Eagleman.
Is that a real name?
I think he is actually a real person. I don't think he's one of the bots. He just sounds like a Russian bot. Anyway, and then tweets like a Russian bot. So he says, Trump just delivered for working families. He cut a deal to flood the market with cheaper ground beef, up to 300,000 metric tons coming in with no out of quota tariff for the next 90 days, sold at 25% below current prices. Notice how Trump says we've gotten assurances they will do it. Then by the time it hits the right-wing grifters online, it's just a fact that that's what it's being sold at. So we'll see. Anyway, under Biden, beef prices exploded and the American herd hit its smallest size in modern history. Again, that's not true, but he just repeats it without fact checking. Trump is fixing both, lower prices at the store and giving our ranchers room to rebuild the herd. Although, as you say, there's a big logical gap there, but whatever. This is what actual leadership looks like. Prices down, Americans first. Thank you, President Trump. And in his defense, the meatpacker monopoly is composed of some Americans, I guess, rich ones, well-connected, politically donating Americans. So he's not 100% wrong. Anyway, to that, Marjorie Greene says, here is the paid slop about how the Trump admin is making it even harder for American beef ranchers and producers. Now they will be undercut by foreign imported beef, as they have been hit financially with high cost of fertilizer and diesel from Trump's war with Iran. The Trump admin's attempt to lower the cost of beef is American beef last and foreign beef first. So she's not wrong about the fertilizer thing. That is definitely a thing that's more and more affecting food prices. I don't know like how big of a part of it's been over the past year, because the problem with beef predates the war in Iran by a good bit, but she's not wrong. It's definitely a part of it. There's a lot of things that go into this. And look, honestly, I don't know how strong of an opinion you have on this. I think that we have competing interests. We want the American ranchers, I guess, to do better. But we also want Americans to be able to buy food. Like, we have to balance a bunch of interests. I don't know the answer to this necessarily, but it is, I guess, good that there's at least a debate going on the right.
Yeah, so I'm mixed on it too. And I think that the answer is in the details that we don't have. So if I was in the White House, I would say, hey, listen, how much do we have to import to lower prices, but still keep our own industry healthy? And so the answer might be, hey, you know what? We need to import 7% more or 52% more. And here's how it affects the ranchers and why and how we can protect them, right? But here's how we bring the prices down. And maybe there isn't a perfect balancing act, but I would do that analysis first and let that analysis drive it so that we can achieve the objectives we want for the American people, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how Washington functions. So they almost never have that conversation. To be fair, sometimes in Democratic circles, they'll have that conversation. Whether they use it to then effectuate policy is a different question, right? But instead, how it goes is, okay, which donor's complaining? The meat packers? Okay, all right, we got to help the meat packers. What are we doing for the meat packers? Oh, the imported beef, are they donors? No, they can't be, but they're giving to there, and then that's a donor. Okay, and how about the other side, the farmers? Yeah, a bunch of suckers, they'll vote for us anyway. We're not gonna lose any of their votes. Okay, let's go, let's do it. They're not doing an analysis of what's gonna help you, they're doing an analysis of what's gonna help them.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But the good news is that right-wing media and et cetera is getting the anger bubbling up from their own side. It's not like they're being like good guys and they did the analysis, right?
Yeah.
They're actually looking at their own audiences going, I'm sick of this. I hate this. And they're reflecting that. That's another positive.
Well, and they're able to, because there's something like for every point in polling Trump goes down, the right can debate what he's doing 10% more, I feel like. Like if he was above 40%, there'd be no debate. But as he drops down to 33, 32, they can actually debate it, which I think is good. And by the way, look, he should have a room of experts. I know that that's probably not a thing they've done even once of this term, but I agree they should get all the experts in a room. I can't answer. I know barely more about American beef than Darlene Graham does about Taiwan. But my guess would be that if there is a very strong meatpacking monopoly here, that's probably hurting the beef herders a lot. Like maybe break the monopoly, maybe that would be a thing. Because this is like Trump looking at, how do I just briefly make things look a little bit better to get people off my back, rather than why don't we question the status quo and question whether it's a good thing that we have a monopoly in this area. But that's bigger thinking, and again, it would force him to go against his donors, which he would literally never do.
Yeah. All right, now the last word goes to our members. I like these, that's why I'm reading them. Michael Zembauer on TYT.com says, he said meat packers. Michael, you made me laugh. So I read a YouTube members. Jim Huggett confirms this relevant information. Gunther Eagleman is real, guys. Okay, so apparently that's a real person. And then Jim Huggett wrote in, why do I want Arby's now? Now that's the most American thing that's been said. Hey, you know what, guys? You watch the show live and you're a member, you get rewarded. From now on, new policy out of nowhere, out of the blue, okay? But blue makes sense, because if I read your comment during a segment, $100 Blue Apron gift card.
Dang.
Okay, but you got to be a member. So watch the show live, comment. Be a member and you're gonna get that. So all three of you write in at rewards@tyt.com and we'll be able to prove that you're a member because you're in the member section, right? Yeah. And pick up your $100 Blue Apron gift card, okay?
Damn, now it's uncapped? I'm gonna have to send a message.
There you go, okay. You guys feed us messages, we feed you back. Hey, you could even get American beef with that Blue Apron gift card. So there you go.
Or it might be French crap.
Yeah, sure.
Put it in Tomi Lahren.
We don't want that. Get the frog stuff out of here, okay? America's for beef and cow and cattle.
Okay, why don't we take our break, come back, and we'll talk a little bit about Pete Hegseth's chaperone at work after this.
This earth warming and carbon is actually healthy for us.
All right, here we go. Let's go to Super Chat. Make it make sense. Says the American paradigm want US made, US workers well paid, and won't pay more than what slave labor and overseas products / food production provides. So, well, US made and US workers well paid. That sounds like a good campaign slogan. I like it. Boxy Brown says beef is way too expensive. Even ground beef is pricey now. Yeah, they're actually trying to drive the ground beef price down. That's the one that spiked and is concerning people because ground beef goes in a lot of what we eat. Also, I'll pull a Mitt Romney here. Ground beef, my favorite meat. Okay, which it is. I love ground beef.
I thought you were gonna say ground beef is people, my friend. And that's the second solution to the problem.
No, that's solvent green,
Soylent Green, yeah.
There you go. Okay, anyways, all right, these are all YouTube members. Bud Roland one says, you can raise chickens under your bed to save money. I'm worried about it. Neo Saturday 69 WWE says, Gunther? Okay, that's funny. Adam is alive. It says means Anna will have her own bonus. We'll have her on the bonus episode in like a month, referring to Tomi Lahren. Hey, if she agrees with us on the topic and she wants to spread the word, God bless. Havok says, guess the rich will get a chance to buy up more of the ranchers and cut out the American cattle rancher. Yeah, that sounds right. Good guy with a pun. Now there's a TYT.com. Your chemistry is so wonderful. Love how much you make each other laugh. It's sweet. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Speaking of nice things, Teddy Lucy Linda says, Cenk, great old school the other night. Glad you liked the up-down reference. The only thing missing was Michael. I can argue about the last sentence. Michael's back this next week. And John and Elliot were terrific. Yeah, if you're a member, which you all are, check it out under membership.
Hot dog is my favorite meat.
Be nice to me.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, John Iadarola with you guys. Everybody check out Damage Report, 1 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday on YouTube, on TYT.com, on a billion places, including all of our 24-hour channels. Make sure you're checking that out on Samsung, LG, Roku, Zumo, you name it. All right, let's go to our next story.
Usual. I remember the first meeting we went to that she came with. I was like, and then it felt so right and so natural, not because of anything else, just because we've always been ride or die. It's always been, we're doing this together. And so when we did that first, it was like, oh, this is the way it's gonna be the whole time. It's gotta be.
That's really weird. So that's the First Lady of War, Jennifer Hegseth. And she's apparently sitting in on a lot of meetings, including ones where other countries' intelligence agents are like, really? We're doing this with her in the room? This is super weird. So this is yet another right-winger, very close to Israel, with someone who is their significant other watching over them nonstop. Interesting. Now, I have no idea if this has anything to do with Israel, but let's find out the whole story.
Let's find out. I wouldn't be surprised. So the New York Times did a profile of Pete Hegseth and his spouse. Well, they say there's never been a Pentagon spouse quite like her, but I don't know, once you see all the different things she does in this job that she doesn't have, I think he might actually be the Pentagon spouse. But anyway, so this is going beyond just like working out with Pete Hegseth and the Marines above the USS, on the USS Boxer. She was apparently a part of that. She obviously follows him to his podcast tapings. She does that. And concerns have been growing, both internally and externally in the media. Ever since last year when it was revealed that she was in one of the signal chats that her husband was sharing attack plans on the Houthis in Yemen with. Yeah, she's included in those calls too, with obviously highly confidential information. And so-
And classified.
Yeah, classified, exactly. The information that was shared on the signal chat included the literal flight schedules for the Hornets that were flying in to attack the Houthis in Yemen. Essentially the same attack plans that he then later shared on a separate signal chat the same day that mistakenly included the editor of The Atlantic. So she's not just in the meetings, she's in the text chains too. There is no logical reason why she needs to be in that, but she follows him everywhere, I guess. And the more reporting is done, the more we learn about her role. It gets bigger and bigger with every passing month. So as Cenk alluded to, last year, she was in a highly sensitive meeting with her husband and top British defense officials after the US temporarily stopped sharing military intelligence with Ukraine. In a previously undisclosed part of that meeting, a Trump administration official told the New York Times the British indicated that they had officers on the ground in Ukraine and that without the US intelligence, including early warnings of incoming missiles from Russia, the officers' lives were at risk. But here's the thing, the British in this meeting could only speak in general terms because the presence of Mrs. Hegseth made them uneasy. Later, they had a smaller meeting without her to go into detail. And is she not merciful that she allowed the Secretary of Defense to act like a big boy for a few minutes and have a meeting without her? That's very nice of her. Anyway, the Pentagon has not confirmed, by the way, if she has any level of security clearance at all, even though she has as much access as the highest tier officials in the Department of Defense. And I guess every reporter at The Atlantic has access to too, but that's an oopsie doopsie. Anyway, Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell stated that Mrs. Hegseth left after introductions at the meeting and that she's not been present for any conversations where classified information is being discussed. And I just don't believe that. Based on the reporting, that's not the case. It wasn't the introductions, it was when the British defense officials were discussing the material. So he's just lying to cover that up. In any event, there's been no reports in the past year that she's attended sensitive meetings with foreign leaders, other than that one, I guess. But again, as we saw with the signal chat, she is privy to getting whatever information she wants, and not just like straight from him. She's in the ongoing communications during wartime. And so she's also been just a constant presence in the Pentagon, including using an elevator from the building's garage that opens directly into Hegseth's office suite. She's in direct contact with members of his inner circle, among them his chief of staff. And Tomi Lahren, a close friend of Mrs. Hegseth and a fellow former producer at Fox, because the Department of Defense is now just full up with Fox people for some reason. So what else does she do? Well, she preps him for his appearances. She sits in on his meetings with journalists. She interviews potential members of his staff and brainstormed ideas for the Defense Department videos he and sometimes she appears in. She also apparently was a big proponent for banning journalists from the Pentagon, especially those that have written negative stories about her husband. And bear in mind, she was a journalist for literally years, and now screw any ethical obligation of journalism. She got what she needed, and now she's there to bar them from doing their job. She also serves as chair for Trump's Military Spouse Commission. And at least that, Cenk, is like a role that she has. She is the chair of Trump's Military Spouse Commission. Everything else is just her showing up. It is exactly the same, although at lower stakes, than if my wife showed up and was just reviewing my rundown, and I couldn't hire a new producer unless she screened them for me. And every time I go to Alex Michelson's show on CNN, she's just off camera or something. That would be weird. This should be weirder because he's supposed to be a grown-ass man serving as our Secretary of Defense. We have even more, but what do you think?
Yeah, so I want to split this out to a couple of things. Things that make sense and are totally acceptable, things that don't make any sense. And then I also want to tell you about different kinds of spouses that are concerning, some that people are worried are honeypots, some that have been just involved having nothing to do with honeypots, okay? So first, on the things that are normal, she works out with Hegseth in a video, so what? That's kind of cute, right? She accompanies him to a podcast. Nothing wrong with that. She travels with him. That's all of that is under arguably they're a tight couple, nothing wrong at all. She goes on the podcast. Okay, a little bit weird, but from time to time, you want to do a personal podcast.
It's Katie Miller. It's not it's a serious thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, no problem, no problem. You're on a Signal chat about when we're gonna bomb the Houthis. What the F?
Why?
Why? Yeah, that's not a little strange. That's super strange. So now, to be fair,
maybe illegal.
Yeah, definitely. If she doesn't have clearance, she can't see that kind of classified information. So I guess we just tore up all the laws. It doesn't matter anymore. I was going to say, to be fair, Pete Hegseth later shared the information in that Signal chat with the whole country, right? So she just got a little preview before everybody else. But seriously, guys, that just doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know why she'd be on there. And then to go into an intelligence conversation with a foreign government, the UK, and talking about intelligence on the ground. No, you got to get out of the room. This is not an open question. There's a matter of laws here. And so there's a question of why are you breaking the law gratuitously? And then there's a second question of, wait, is it gratuitous? Or do you have a mission here? Because this is not anywhere near normal.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now look, I'm just reporting what's out online. I'm not saying it's true or anything, right? But people have concerns about Kash Patel and his partner and why she is glommed onto him at this particular time and is so close to him, et cetera, et cetera. There are questions about Erica Kirk. You could make that what you want, be outraged by it, be totally believe it, be somewhere in the middle. I'm just telling you, right? What's out there and what's gotten people concerned. Donald Trump. So there's Natalie Harp. Before I thought that was no big deal, that's their business, it's weird, it might be gross, but it's not my business, right? But then it turns out now Maggie Haberman's saying, no, she's working with other countries to get messages to Trump. Wait, what? Which other countries? What the hell's going on here? Let alone Melania Trump, who was introduced to him by Epstein, and that's a whole nother thing, right? So these people, I don't know, and it might be totally unfair to lump them together, and some of them might have nothing to do with anything. But if I was running a tight ship and I cared about American intelligence, I would ask a question or two. Why are these people popping up in places that they don't have any business in, and they're right next to their significant other who's super connected, and they're give me more information. I'm that's weird, right? Okay, and then, but to be fair, and I'm not joking, there have been instances of outlandish things like this before, including Jill Biden and Dick Cheney's wife. So Dick Cheney's wife by some accounts, kind of ran the show. And she would be in cabinet meetings like, wait, what? Sometimes, and she would accompany him in big decisions. On 9/11, she was right next to him and like whispering things for him to do. And like, there's a theory that she was the brains behind the operations, which is not the compliment that she might think it is, because if she was responsible for what the Cheneys did, right?
Pretty bad.
And then Jill Biden sat in on interviews for cabinet level positions, sat in on important meetings at the White House. Super weird. It does not, no, it should be strictly prohibited.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which side you're on.
Yeah, you like jokingly said like the first lady of the Department of Defense or whatever, but that's not a thing. There's the first lady, and then there's just someone who happens to be your partner, a husband or wife. They don't have a job, they don't have a role. This isn't Versailles or whatever. This isn't a court with courtiers and all of that. It's not supposed to be that. You get hired to do a job. Pete Hegseth was hired to do a job. He's supposed to be there. He's supposed to be doing a better job than he's doing, but he's at least supposed to be there. She's not supposed to be there. And so, like, yeah, there's weird concerns about the professional side of it. And then there's some stuff bubbling up about the personal side of it. And bear in mind, a lot of this information is coming out because a lot of people at the Pentagon are weirded out by the entire thing, as they should be. A lot of them are probably predisposed to be weirded out by what she's doing, because a lot of them apparently have an issue with what he's doing. I imagine being like a career military official or a career Pentagon person, and then seeing this washed up ex-alcoholic talk show host come in and just make a mockery of what you've been doing. So they're clearly bothered by that. But one person familiar with Hegseth's thinking said that the defense secretary likes his wife to travel with him to keep him out of trouble. Mr. Hegseth, who has a history of heavy drinking, had himself made clear he needs his wife at his side. He often credits his two J's, Jennifer and Jesus, with transforming his life. And you should not need anyone else to keep you out of trouble when you are one of the top officials in the United States government. You're supposed to be a big boy who can handle your own crap, that can do the job, that can show up to places, that knows when to put down a bottle. And if you don't, then that's fine. Take some time to work on yourself, go and get help. There are programs available, but you should not be in charge of our country at wartime if you need a chaperone, and not like in a general sense. On a foreign trip, you do your meetings, you come home, your wife is there, whatever, and she watches to make sure that you don't like harass a woman at the bar as you've been alleged to have in the past. This is literally in the meetings. This is him, she's just showing up at the Pentagon. And I just think it's so ironic, Cenk, because this is a guy who clearly believes that on identity politics alone, there are huge classes of people that don't deserve any job in the military. If you're a person of color, if you're a woman, doesn't matter if you've served with distinction for decades, you don't deserve crap and you will be barred from your promotions. Meanwhile, this guy has to be carried through his day because he'll fall apart and get drunk or start bothering a woman or something like that. And so I wonder how much of his attempts to control what other people do is projection based on his own frustration with his inability to act like any other adult male in this country.
Yeah, so our members have a lot of theories, and one of them is, hey, is she chaperoning him so he doesn't fall off the wagon, right? So my sense of it is that, look, I think a close relationship where they talk to one another about what they do, and he gets advice from her, and she accompanies him to places as he travels. I think that's actually could be super sweet, like in a really healthy relationship. But when the significant other, whether it's a husband or a wife, and when you think about it, I know we still have a lot of like gender expectations, et cetera. But if you flip the roles, you begin to see how weird it is. And take it out of the context of the Trump administration. So let's say there's a woman who's on the board of a Fortune 500 company, and her husband accompanies her to the board meetings. You'd be like, wait, what? What's going on here? Why did Mr. Smith show up? This is super weird, right? Like, why do you need your husband to chaperone you?
Yeah.
Like she's going for a job interview and her husband shows up. No, don't do that.
Oh, God.
Okay. Or your wife shows up and no, that went from super sweet to super creepy. And I know I don't know if it's a fine line. I don't think it's a fine line. I think it's a pretty clear line. But so we're in, at a minimum, super weird territory. And so that engenders theories, including the one I laid out there. I'm not saying that's my theory, but people are concerned that some of these spouses are too close in things that affect national security, and it's concerning people, and I think it should. So I'll give last comment to one of our viewers again, James Kelly, 9828. This is a super chat, and James, now we got the new rule that if I read one of your comments on air, you're gonna get a $100 Blue Apron gift card, but you gotta be a member. So James, I don't know if you are. If you are, rewards@tyt.com for your gift card. That way you'll make money off your super chat. But anyway, James says, I mean, either she's a honeypot or PD Boy got caught with his hand in a honeypot. Right, and it could be like that. Those are fair. Like when you do weird things, it is fair that people speculate as to why you did that weird thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, and James's speculation is fair. Either she's trying to get the information, or he got caught with someone else, and she's trying to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that at least is sensible. Like that, at least we all get as human beings.
Sure.
Although still definitely not right.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we should probably take our second break because we got some wars to delve into on the other side of this.
Let's go to a super chat. Gargoyle Dragon says, you're right, John, this is not Versailles. Keg's breath isn't nearly man enough to wear a French heel while reviewing the troops.
That is
funny. Rockstar says, does she go to the potty with him too? Caroline says, Keg's breath works for Israel, not America. The Just 1430 says, Hegseth gives me American Psycho vibes. Yeah, that's a good one. Yep. Sleeping Dolphin says, she's merging with our military? God, you guys are on fire today, okay? Tony Miranda says, obviously the processing monopoly is hurting the ranchers, just as they did for the pork industry. It's their game to hurt the producers. It's their game to hurt the producers, weaken them, and force them to sell cheaper. Tony, I wonder if you're right. That is a pretty good theory. God, the people in charge of our government are so evil. Like, not only do they not care about you, they're actively trying to hurt you just for the benefit of their donors, of course. MG 2654 says, with no security clearance or position in office. And you're right, that's the most important part. We'll be right back. Merge. All right, back on TYT, the online news network. Cenk Uygur, John Idaho with you guys. Damage reports at 1 o'clock. Just a fun random comment from our Twitch audience. General Swifty says, Cenk, you're a natural born beef eater. I'm gonna take that as a compliment. All right, let's do our next story. Now, Ukraine has been hit again in its capital. Well, there's a lot dead. John's gonna tell you about it in a second. Ukraine has also been hitting Russia, including Moscow, civilians dead on both sides. Have we gotten to a point now where we're in a more disastrous portion of this war, especially because Ukraine is beginning to run out of interceptor missiles? Gee, I wonder why. Who were they used for instead? Let's find out the whole story, John.
See if we can figure it out. Yes, it does seem as if the severity of the strikes is going up once again, while the ability to defend against them is at an all-time low. So in the last day, Kyiv has been hit by Russian attacks, missiles and drones, and the mayor there said that it appeared that critical civilian infrastructure was purposefully being targeted. At least 17 people have been killed as blocks of flats and warehouses were struck across the city. A children's hospital and school were also damaged, and more than 40 people have been injured. There's a report that a shopping center was hit with a classic double tap as well. And that mayor, that's Vitaly Klitschko, he was speaking to the BBC News. He was outside of one of these wrecked apartment blocks, and he said that Ukraine continues to face a shortage of air defense missiles and needs, quote, ammunition, anti-missile systems. We need support from our partners, adding, the interceptors for the Patriots have not yet been replaced, and they are needed every day. Each additional missile saves the lives of our people. And of course, Kyiv has long relied on Western allies for supplies, and President Zelensky said that as long as Ukraine does not have enough anti-ballistics, Russia will not seriously think about peace. They said, by the way, the Ukrainian Air Force, that none of the missiles targeting the capital over the last night were intercepted. That doesn't mean that they didn't try to intercept them. Sometimes it takes more than one interceptor to take one down, but they just don't have it anymore. And so, and by the way, with all this news getting out, Russia's going to know that it is easier to hit these targets than it was at one point. So why? Well, please tell me that you already knew why. We're burning through Patriot missiles at a fabulous rate in the forever war that Donald Trump started with Iran. We just burned through more and more, both on the offensive side as well as the defensive side. And as we burn through the defensive missiles, we're no longer as free to provide them to Ukraine or to other allies. We can't give them, we can't sell them, we desperately need them because of this quagmire that Donald Trump has landed us in. And so that raises concerns that more and more civilians could be targeted as the metaphoric shields go down over these areas. So in response to what happened last night, an ex-spokesperson for Zelensky, who's much more of a critic these days, says every third building in Kyiv is damaged from Russian attacks, about 4,000 out of 12,000. The Hawks still insist we keep fighting the war that does not have a military solution while people keep dying and suffering and Ukraine degrading. How many more cities have to be wrecked before someone in power admits the obvious? This war needs to end now, not after the next decisive offensive, not after another 100 billion. Finish it. And so how do the Ukrainian people feel about this? Well, you can see in this chart over time, the level of support for a negotiated peace has gone up. Back in 2022, it was just above 20%. It's now at 69% right now. The percent saying that Ukraine should continue fighting until it, quote unquote, wins the war is down to just 24%. So that's like the top line number, but then once you get into the details, it's a lot muddier. So what kind of peace deal? And so in that, there was a poll conducted, this was July to August of last year. The Kyiv International Institute of Sociology found that only 17% of those Ukrainians surveyed would accept a peace plan on Russian terms, with 76% of respondents categorically against such compromises. And then you had different levels of support for, at that point, what was kind of the European plan. There's a certain level of support, less so for the United States plan, which obviously was tilted quite a bit towards Russia anyway. That was, of course, last year, so the numbers might well have moved, and maybe Russia's position has moved as well. We know from earlier today, there was reporting that Moscow is saying they're ready to listen to new ideas for ending the war, although a senior Russian diplomat said that the proposed deal would still have to align with President Putin's position, which that second part seems to contradict the first, but at least there maybe is some openness. They said that the proposals have to be in line with realities on the ground. So as always, it comes down to who seems to have the momentum, who seems to need an end to it faster, which is why, Cenk, perhaps if Russia has more of a capacity to take out Ukrainian civilians, then maybe they don't feel they need to give up as much. Maybe they feel they need to be given more to negotiate a deal. Although, as you point out, Ukraine has also shown an increased capacity to hit Russia as well, including all the way over in Moscow.
Yeah. So, all right, let's break this down. First of all, I'm going to invent something here. It's always fun. It's called Thanks Israel. This is kind of like Thanks Obama, except it's real. So, first of all, double taps used to be considered monstrous and a horrific war crime. Now everybody's doing it. So Israel started with the double taps. Oh, not only are we going to hit a hospital, when people come to rescue the sick and injured in the hospital, we'll hit it again and murder them too, right? And now America did it in the girls' school we hit in Iran. Ukraine's doing it, Russia's doing it, everybody's doing double taps. Like, oh yeah, the rescue workers have come, let's murder them. It's the new norm. That should not be the new norm. And so brought to you by, of course, the terrorist state of Israel. Number two, we're now out of defensive missiles, not just for Ukraine, but for us. Okay, so we gave our defensive missiles, tons of them to Ukraine. Then we started a totally gratuitous war with Iran that I'm calling Miriam's War. And by the way, it's only me that's calling it Miriam's War. Okay. But really, Miriam Adelson and her Israeli family, that's literally who she is, she's an Israeli citizen, gave over $300 million to Donald Trump over 3 runs, and they had a list of demands. And Trump has talked publicly about how he has complied with their demands, like moving the US embassy in Israel, and he's listed them publicly. And one of her demands was start a war for Israel. And it doesn't matter what the cost is. Now the cost is, well, if we're attacked here in America, we're almost out of interceptor missiles. I mean, that is a massive vulnerability.
Yeah.
Huge issue, right? But then number 2 consequence is now Ukrainian, sad day for you. Now the Gulf countries already know about this because after the Iran war started, even though we have bases, we barely protected our own troops and our own bases. That's why we have a lot of dead troops and we have over 600 casualties overall in the Iran war, because we are spending our interceptor missiles on our number 1 priority. Arkansas, just kidding, of course not, that's an American state, on Israel, right? So Israel gets all the protection and now Ukraine's like, well, what the hell? Well, Ukraine just tried to broaden the war for Israel. They attacked the Iranian ship a couple of weeks ago, trying to drag Russia into the war, which could create World War III. But hey, it would help Israel because then America would have to fight against Russia as well in some insane thing that they decided to be a part of. How's that working out for you, your alliance with Israel? Oh, right, they took all your defensive missiles and now your civilians are dying. Well played, Ukraine, great job partnering up with Israel. See how that worked out. Now, the last part that's thanks Israel is now no one ever agrees to end any wars. Because Israel's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna end any wars. We're never gonna listen to a ceasefire. We're gonna start new wars and new wars and new wars, and we're just gonna call it self-defense. So haha, no wars ever end, okay? So these are disastrous trends, all started in recent history by Israel. Okay, now we go to Ukraine's main issue here, Ukraine war. So guys, we hear the Ukrainian perspective all the time because they're our ally, right? Oh God damn it, Russia is bombing Kyiv, like we're reporting to you today. 17 people killed, disastrous. They're hitting critical infrastructure, not civilian infrastructure, but critical infrastructure. The Russians say that it's military areas, etc. But the line is super blurry. You're hitting in the middle of a crowded urban area, right? And a lot of the people killed are civilians. So boo Russia. Russia's definitely doing wrong. Now, what you probably don't hear very often is Ukraine is doing the same thing to Russia, okay? So they've sent over 600 drones in recently to hit different targets in Russia, and they're hitting Moscow over and over again. And they've killed 16 people inside Moscow, including a kid. So there are no clean hands here. Now, at the end of the day, Russia started the war, so that makes a huge difference. But this has devolved. We're in a giant, messy war. Nobody's winning. Civilians are getting hurt. Both countries are hurt. And at the end of the day, whether Putin gets to say, I control some of the territory, or Ukraine does, I know the territory matters, obviously, right? But like the egos of the guys up top are driving 90% of this, and people are dying for no reason. The correct answer is obviously get to a peace deal. And part of the reason they don't is because, Ukraine has a slight advantage. Now we don't want the peace deal. Russia has a slight advantage. No, we don't want the peace deal.
Yeah.
Well, remember, you might have the slight advantage today, but this war has gone back and forth, and you might be in dire situation tomorrow. So do a peace deal already, for God's sake. You're not gonna get everything you want. It sucks. That's the nature of peace deals. Usually the other side doesn't go, okay, you take whatever you like. Again, this is an Israeli idea, which, and by the way, backed up by Donald Trump completely, which is, we get everything we want, no matter what our leverage is, The Strait of Hormuz is closed. You're totally screwed. I don't care. I got everything I want anyway. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Israel's like, I want every Palestinian to be disarmed, have no power, and then buried in the ground, and then punched in the face, and then for them to humiliate themselves. And it's, yeah, but that's not a reasonable thing to ask for, right?
Yeah.
Get to goddamn peace already. And nobody's willing to do it. And lastly, John, the hypocrisy drives me crazy. So, okay, Russia attacks, Ukraine counterattacks, nobody makes a big deal out of it, right? So Israel has obliterated Gaza and is now obliterating Lebanon. But if a Palestinian or a Lebanese person, and yes, including Hamas and Hezbollah, but it doesn't have to be just them. There's also Armenian militias fighting back against Israel in southern Lebanon, okay? Or it could be individuals because you killed their kids, right? But if any Arab dares to fight back against Israel, terrorist, the worst person alive, how dare you fight back? Everyone else in the world has a right to self-defense. Ukraine does, Russia does, Israel does, America does, everyone does, except if you're an Arab, then our disgustingly bigoted media in unison go, terrorists, terrorists, destroy them, kill them more, kill them more, kill them more, kill them more, and you all have to pay for it. So just understand that the word terrorism is a made up propaganda tool used by Israel and its allies here in America to smear Arabs and Muslims and these days some Christians and to help facilitate their murder better. It is not evenly applied at all, and it is not ever used in the largest terrorist state in the world, and that's Israel, with a worse civilian kill ratio than Hamas or Hezbollah or any terrorist group, and that has killed now 75 times the number of civilians that those terrorist groups killed. But if you do 75 times worse, our media goes, you're the victim. As long as you're Israel, oh, self-defense. So are the Palestinians allowed self-defense? They go, no, you terrorist, shut up and die harder, right? And that's not just like fringe people, that's everyone on cable news, that's everyone in our government.
It is literally everyone. And they will deny that, but they believe it. They believe it to their bones. They don't have the right, I mean, I would go farther. I think that the vast majority fundamentally don't think of Palestinians as people. They think of them as a thing. They're just a thing that happens to be there. It would really be better if they weren't there. Maybe we could move them away or something. But they indisputably are the only people that do not get to defend themselves and their families.
Yeah, and then they get smeared afterwards too. Like, how dare you try to defend yourself? Your own rights, the only right a Palestinian has, according to American media, is the right to die. That's it. You don't have any rights at all. How dare you object to your superiors, okay? And that's how our disgusting cable news anchors act every single day, let alone the pundits who are almost all Israeli assets. And if you think that's an exaggeration, no, we're gonna show you later in today's show, Van Jones absolutely humiliating himself for Israel.
I didn't see that.
So whether it's Scott Jennings or Van Jones, oh, look at that. The right-wing pundit and the left-wing pundit all agree Israel is the greatest gift to humanity and all the Palestinians should be murdered at our expense. Wow, what a coincidence. We gotta free America, man. We're totally and utterly occupied by Israel. Cable news is occupied by Israel and Washington is occupied by Israel. And the only people who don't acknowledge that are the brainwashed that watch cable news and of course the Israeli assets running media and the government in our country.
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't like it, kiss my ass. Okay, let's keep going. Let's do the next story. So let's bring it up here. So one of Israel's most prominent terrorists, their national security minister, Ben-Gvir, was jumping for joy on the progress that Israel has made on its gallows, where they're going to murder Palestinians with glee. Of course, the rules do not apply to Jewish citizens. We'll come back to that. And he's also saying that maybe we should start mass genocide in another capital of a neighboring country, because of course it's another day in Israel and more calls for mass extermination of their neighbors. John, tell us about it.
Need more death, death, death. Well, why don't we roll this video and I'll explain what's been going on lately. So just days after calling for the targeted assassinations of 30 to 40 people every night in Gaza, Ben-Gvir has unveiled the start of a construction, you can see right there, of a new prison wing and hanging facility for Palestinian prisoners. And we're not just saying like, we believe it will be used for Palestinians. No, the law has basically been set up where it can only be used to publicly execute Palestinian prisoners, because this facility will also include viewing platforms for the families of victims to watch the hangings, of course. In his video, you can hear him say, "I promised to worsen the conditions of terrorists in prisons, we kept it. I promised to pass the death penalty for terrorist law, we did. And now the death row and hanging facility are also starting to take shape." So on the program, the death penalty law passed in Israel earlier this year was previously discussed. That law requires military courts to apply the death penalty as the only available sentence unless the court finds special circumstances allowing for life imprisonment, sort of flipping on its head how most countries deal with that sort of dichotomy. Jewish Israelis are in effect prohibited from getting the death penalty by a provision that applies the law only to murder committed with the quote, intent to deny the existence of the state of Israel. So the Times of Israel does state that in regard to the legislation, it is unclear if the legislation will lead to automatic death penalty sentences. The condition requiring that the terror attack be carried out with the motive of quote, negating the existence of the state of Israel or the authority of the military commander in the area. Sorry, I'm losing my papers here. Unfortunately, that is, damn it, that did not print correctly. But anyway, so it's unclear exactly how you're gonna prove that in practice, because to some people, thank you, to some people it might seem so hard to prove in court in many cases, leaving judges with room to impose a prison sentence instead. So maybe things will not be quite as dystopian as they appear at this point, but the law is designed to produce that outcome. And you can see in Ben-Gvir's glee, quivering with glee, that he thinks he's set up a situation in which we will have Palestinians, basically any crime they commit or whatever will result in this. You'll be able to bring the families in, you'll all get to watch it, it'll be super exciting, everyone will be very happy about that. And he says, we are making history, our terrorists deserve only one thing, death by hanging. And the guy is consistent, okay? He celebrated his 50th birthday with this cake. It's got a noose on it, so he seems like a nice guy. Definitely wish I'd been invited to that party. And we don't know when the facility will be completed. We don't know exactly where it's located. But we also have, if you want, there is an op-ed in the Jerusalem Post arguing against this. We can get to that, but what do you make of the facility and the goal for it legally?
Yeah, so I wonder if this is in our future here in America. So if you argue with the existence of Israel, they hang you and they lynch you. So now they say, well, I mean, there has to be terrorism that goes along with it. What is Israel's definition of terrorism? Because Ben-Gvir was literally convicted of aiding terrorists. So are they gonna hang him? They're like, no, he's Jewish. He's the chosen race, the chosen people. Now, again, Jews in America, almost none of them believe that. But in Israel, a lot of people believe that. And so they're like, well, no, of course, the chosen people are allowed to murder anyone they like and take their land. God promised it to them 3,000 years ago. Can't you hear? What'd you say, God? Oh, murder them and take their land? Of course, serial killers think that way. And this guy is a literal serial killer. He's helped to murder tens of thousands of people. He's literally helped to murder over 23,000 children in Gaza. And he's done it with glee and joy, and he brags about it. In that quote about the killing 30 to 40 people a night, he said, they're not people. That is literally how Nazis talk. Not like, like starter kit of fascism, we're worried about the ends. No, at the end, Nazis go, let's indiscriminately kill civilian people because they're not our race, they're a different race, and our race is chosen and they are not. That is very literally Nazi ideology. So that is who this guy is. And in fact, we have more about massacres he's planning next. He's the head of their national security. By the way, you know, he bragged, as John told you about, I've made the prisons worse for the Palestinians. He's right. B'Tselem, Israeli civil rights group, and every other human rights group confirms the prisons are basically gulags now, torture chambers. And one of the things they do is they leave people handcuffed at all times when they're getting hospital treatment, when they're being fed, and their hands and their legs, but they leave them so long with such tight handcuffs that doctors are amputating people on a daily basis. It's causing infections, gangrene, etc. Again, reported by the Israeli press and Israeli human rights groups. Mass amputations, throw in Mengele here. So these are literal Nazis right now. And guys, if you missed my interview with the 2 American doctors from last night, please go check it out on our YouTube channel. So that'll be up over the weekend now. It's also on TYT Conversation on YouTube right now. So I talked to a Jewish American doctor and a Muslim American doctor who were in Gaza and are featured in the movie American Doctor. And Dr. Perlmutter was like, no, he's like, I hate to say it, but they're implementing the final solution for the Palestinians. He said, every day, 83% of American doctors in Gaza that went to Gaza, by the way, angels on earth, right? From all the different religions. And 83% of them report seeing a child murdered by a sniper with a headshot or a chest shot every single day they were in Gaza. Snipers doing mass killings of children. Dr. Perlmutter was talking about holding a 5-year-old's brain in his hands, right? So and as he explained, guys, this has nothing to do with Judaism. So these religions have upsides and downsides, all of them, but they're all, and Judaism has a wonderful history and tradition and culture, etc. This is Zionism. Zionism is a toxic form of nationalism. That nationalism existed in Europe and led to disaster after disaster, including the Holocaust. Now nationalism has gone to Israel, and yes, it morphs into fascism, and now we're at the end here. We're not at the beginning in Israel. We're we're at a very, very dark place.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they're good people arguing against this law in Israel. Unfortunately, they're the minority. There's people running against Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, etc. in the elections. Unfortunately, almost the whole country, the culture is gone. So yes, there's still percentages of people who are liberal or left or for peace, etc. But it's a dwindling minority. So like Naftali Bennett is running to the right of Ben-Gvir. What's to the right of Ben-Gvir?
A bomb with a hat on it.
Yeah, maybe, or Hitler. I don't know what's to the right of Ben-Gvir.
Yeah.
And so there's and Naftali Bennett is talking about, no, let's go attack Turkey right now. We're not in enough wars. Make America pay for it, right? So the country's lost this goddamn mind. And if you say, oh, you can't say that about Israel, I just did, okay? I'll say it again and again. I fight Nazis for a living, okay? So, and I'm super proud of it. And I don't give a goddamn what your religion is. And don't hide behind your religion to say, it's okay, I have a special exemption. I'm allowed to be a Nazi. No, you're not. Ben-Gvir is not allowed to be a Nazi. John, you have the quotes about how he'd like to bomb Beirut, or?
Yes, so he said, I have a son who is now going in and out of Lebanon with his reconnaissance unit, and I'm telling you, he and his friends deserve for us to bomb Beirut, for us to crush them.
So my son is part of an invading army who is, and by the way, there's videos of them, and they're like, oh, social media is so bad. Well, then why don't you have your idea of soldiers, terrorists, thieves, stop filming themselves with great joy? So they're smashing the hell out of Jesus statues and churches, and this is what we think of the stupid Christians, and then they smash it, and that's after they bomb their village. But then they start taping how they are going into Lebanese homes, Muslim and Christian homes, and taking whatever they want and bringing it to their house. Literal thievery. And they tape themselves.
They're pillaging.
Yeah, they're literally pillaging, and they're going, we're stealing all their stuff. When then you go, hey, you just said you're stealing their stuff. They're like, anti-Semite. I'm allowed to steal everything. You're not allowed to say it because I'm hiding behind my religion. I don't care about your religion. I don't hate it. I don't love it. In fact, I kind of like the religion because of the culture of questioning the rabbi, and it's been incredibly giving throughout history, etc. But I despise your actual religion these days, which should not be a religion, of Zionism. Zionism is a toxic form of nationalism. So now your son is going into Lebanon to murder and pillage, and in order to protect the pillaging and the murders of the Lebanese, he's saying we should murder even more in their capital indiscriminately. Start murdering your civilians, because he's a Nazi, and it's super obvious. Yet our press will condemn Ben-Gvir. They're like, oh, no. The Israelis are the greatest moral army, wonderful, they're great, shut up and give him your money, etc. Ben-Gvir is a little radical, but it doesn't represent anyone. What do you mean? He's the national security minister. Okay, he's Mengele. He's implementing torture as we speak. And by the way, most of those people are not even prisoners, they're hostages. They never get charged with any crimes. They just get rounded up. By the way, one of the groups of people they round up is if they murder someone in the West Bank or Gaza, they then go and detain all their relatives and friends, even though they didn't do anything wrong. So they don't do anything, or they don't complain, they don't talk to the press, and then they torture them and they lose limbs and etc. So no, Mengele is not a small part of the Israeli government. He's a gigantic part of the Israeli government. He has enormous power, and they are doing all of the things that he asked for, including the massacres of their neighbors, while our press pretends Israel's the victim. Do you know what kind of a monster you have to be at this late date to still lie to your audience about how Israel is doing self-defense and how it's the Palestinians and the Lebanese who deserved it, who started it? It's their fault, they're the terrorists? You have to be a special brand of evil, otherwise known as a cable news anchor, to be that immoral. And that's what we have all across our country. The press pretending to be objective and celebrating these monsters that are running the Israeli government at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, we're way past time. So check out Damage Report, 1 o'clock Eastern every day. Damage Report's channel on YouTube and on tyt.com, and all of our 24-hour channels. Okay, when we come back, we've got a lot more news for you guys, including right-wing media's got a new theory. Also, I hate to say it, but obviously from Israel, it's a talking point about how to destroy anyone who's anti-Israel in America. And then later, Israel has a new list of demands, 10 demands that are even more outrageous, and we have to all do them, otherwise we're all anti-Semites and our lives will be destroyed. Okay, but they're not terrorists at all. All right, we'll be right back.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. Not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of making a difference. Obviously AOC and all that, but there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd, but it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no, he's taking apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you can hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team.
David Soror, Nina Turner.
Adam Green drop by.
Charlemagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Chang.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, you know, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, you know, they talk about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated? Or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition. How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like, how is that like at one level, it's like, this is what we're talking about now. You're like, it's 2024.
And that's always been the critique, your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
My favorite news platform by far. It's not even close.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both worked to achieve, and I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune into the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making that.
I didn't know about that.
This is a happy experience. You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
Because you know what? Learning is cool, my friends. Learning is cool.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Sharon Reed with you guys. Sharon, great to see you. How you doing?
Oh, it's great to see you. I'm doing pretty well.
All right, rock and roll. All right, we got a lot of topics to get to. I don't know if they're fun. This first one is wacky, so let's hit it.
Welcome back. As democratic socialism gains ground in America, the critiques of America, the themes that we hear force us to ask this question: where have I heard this before? Follow me over to the wall. That same anti-Western rhetoric, that same anti-colonial narrative, that same anti-Israel messaging, it's the playbook of the Red-Green Alliance, the partnership between the far left and Islamist movements.
I love what you were writing. What did you say? Here we are, Dems party of commie ISIS. And I know where you're going on this. I read the piece, and I think you're on to something.
Look, Larry, you know the history of this. You know the Red-Green Alliance.
I've been talking about this incessantly for literally years. For many, many years, actually. The crossover between the radical Islamists who hate the West and want to see it ripped down, and the radical commies who want to see the West ripped down for the same reason.
These Islamist movements that are devouring the Democrat Party, and they have obviously teamed up with this whole Marxist ideology. I know people call it the Red-Green Alliance. I wish they'd stop that because most people don't know what that means.
Right, this is a Red-Green Alliance, as I've highlighted numerous times on my show. So you got the red, the communism, or if you want to call it socialism, I think that the appropriate term is communist. These people are openly communist. But what they're missing in the GOP is the green, the Islam, the clearly and very overtly pro-Islamic jihad element of the Democrat Party's unholy alliance, right, with these communists.
You now have the Red-Green Alliance of the Islamicists, who I don't support in the final equation, with the communists, and they are openly, their platform is destroy Israel, which I don't want Israel destroyed, but now in the position, Israel is so villainous with its leadership that it's the most unpopular country in the world, and everything is flipped, and then Israel says, the leaders, we don't care, we're rolling the dice to full war, we're on the US side, everybody else is Hitler.
I like how the first guy was like, where have we heard this before? My guess is your Israeli handler. That's where you heard it before. All of Israel first saying the same exact talking point at the same exact time as usual. Now we're going to tell you why they've gone with this absurd idea of this red-green alliance and why it's absurd and provably, empirically moronic. So we're going to explain all the propaganda, hasbara, to you throughout this story. Sharon has the details first.
Yeah, Cenk. So what is the Red-Green Alliance? Well, according to the people pushing it, it's a secret pact between communists and Islamists to take over America. Red for Marxist, green for Muslim. Doesn't exist, of course, but that's just a minor detail. On Fox, Will Cain, you heard it, laid out the whole frame. Democratic socialism on the rise, Red Scare hook, he defined as the partnership between the far left and Islamist movements, despite their deep ideological differences. Now, then there was a Daily Wire piece titled "Democrats are officially the party of commie ISIS." Steve Bannon went further, calling New York's Mamdani a Marxist jihadist who should be denaturalized. Laura Loomer, who calls herself a proud Islamophobe, went on TV, proposed bringing back Trump's Muslim ban under a chyron that read Abdul el-Sayed, the new face of the Islamic takeover of America. So who are these supposed masterminds of this takeover? Well, two guys who just won elections. Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, who's always smiling, Abdul el-Sayed, who's a good rapper too, who just won Michigan's Democratic Senate primary. Here's the part they leave out. Mamdani is a Democratic socialist. El-Sayed, who backs things like universal health care, actually calls himself a capitalist. Neither one is an Islamist. Both go out of their way to say they want a pluralistic country with a clear separation between religion and the state. Their actual crime? Well, they're Muslim, of course. They won and they support Palestinian rights. How dare they? That's the whole trick. Take Muslims exercising normal political rights, running for office, winning, backing Palestinians, and repackage it as a civilizational threat. And they're not subtle about this either. Why the label matters, Mark Levine said it. I know people called it the Red-Green Alliance. I wish they would stop that because most people do not know what that means, the Marxist Islamist alliance. And here's what makes this rather so obvious. The same crowd has been at each other's throats all year, of course, over the Iran war, Israel. But the second a Muslim progressive wins an election, they are suddenly in perfect lockstep, united. Why? Because they've got nothing else. You can't run on a good economy, of course. You don't have that. You can't run on a popular president, of course. His numbers are underwater, so you run on fear. And remember, it's just August, folks. The closer we get to the election, Cenk, the uglier things will get.
Yep. So let's break it down more. Okay, so first on why we're telling you, it's absolutely absurd. So communists, first of all, are atheists. Going to be hard to make a deal with religious fundamentalists when you're an atheist. And the religious fundamentalists aren't going to be like, oh, you know what? We'll make an exception. We thought that, if it's Muslims, we thought that Allah was in charge, but maybe you guys are right and there is no Allah. Come on. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense at all. They're diametrically opposed. And if you believe that there's these radical Muslims who want to take over the world for Sharia law or whatever, do you think that they're going to go, just kidding, we'll let the communists take it? Or the communists who want to take over the world and for their own ideology at the end go, just kidding, let's just use the radical fundamentalist religious thing that we're 100% opposed to instead? Okay, I know they're not trying to make sense. I'm going to tell you why they're doing it in a second. But lastly, it's 100% imaginary. They've never pointed to a single meeting of someone who's actually a radical fundamentalist Muslim and a communist or a socialist. Never happened, not once, right? Like, was there a secret meeting in Islamabad that I missed? Or in Moscow that I missed? Okay, no, there's no such thing. It's just 100% propaganda. Now, why do they do it? Because Israel has lost public opinion in America. But more importantly to them, they had already written off the left And Israel has deduced, rightly or wrongly, that the left by itself does not have enough power to move American government at all. But the problem is if the left and the right join together, then Israel's got a real problem. And right now, the right wing has Israel getting more and more unpopular every day, especially among the young. They are already deeply disliked by Republicans under the age of 50. So how are they going to trigger those Republicans to support Israel again? We showed you a video now about a year ago where one of the pro-Israel pundits said on the air when she was on with Dinesh D'Souza, she said, now it's too hard to get them to like Israel anymore. So we're shifting to getting them to hate Muslims. So then they've been trying that for over a year now. Hate the Muslims, radical Islamists, oh, they're coming to kill you, terrorists, oh. And look, unfortunately that has some history of working in, let's be honest, with the right wing in this country. Not all the right wing, no way. And guys, if you're on the left and you think everybody on the right hates Muslims, that's not true. Like, I'm gonna give you a funny example, but like too many of us on the left think that the right wing is all racist or fascist or whatever, right? Barack Obama, and yes, his full name was Barack Hussein Obama, after inauguration, had an approval rating of what, 51%? Oh, he finally we got a majority of the country on his side. Was it 62%? My God, that would be nearly 2/3. No, he had an approval rating of 83%. So that includes almost all the independents and a huge portion of the right wing. So this country is open-minded, but yes, there is a fringe that is easily riled up against certain things, including Islam. So they want to go and stir up that hornet's nest. Now remember, oh, you like to hate, don't hate Israel. Hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims, hate the Muslims, attack them. And then afterwards, all the same Israel First guys will be like, oh, we're so concerned about bigotry. Everyone's an anti-Semite and they should all be severely punished for it. Well, should they be severely punished for being bigots against Muslims? No, that's an awesome thing. You should definitely be bigoted, just not against me, against them, right? But that didn't work enough. Why didn't it work enough? Because one of the things I point out to right wingers, and it's true, and that's why it's working, not because I'm saying it, but because it's obviously true, is I'm like, look, not all Muslim Americans, but most of the Muslim Americans running, you could trust them to not be agents of Israel. So they're at least going to fight for American sovereignty. And people are like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's true, because it's true. So now Muslim Americans are getting more and more votes, not less votes. So then it comes along a couple of candidates that won that are in favor of freeing Palestine. That doesn't mean they're Muslim, let alone radical Muslim, let alone Sharia law. No, they're just like, hey, I don't want to give my money to fund a genocide. So that's one of their issues. Their other issues are DSA, and so again, this is about a handful of guys, maybe about 5 people in the Democratic Party among the electeds, the candidates, etc. But okay, see this. So they're going in a socialist direction, not a communist direction, etc. And so Israel goes, aha, that's it. Especially the older Republicans, super easy to scare them about communists. So we'll say, oh, all the people that are saying you shouldn't fund Israel anymore? Communists. Oh, you know what? They're Islamist communists. There's the red and the green. Oh, you hate them, hate them, hate them, hate them, right? No, they're not winning because they're communists, and none of them are communists. And they're not even winning because they're democratic socialists, in my opinion. They're winning because, I mean, look, Angie Nixon's a great example. In Florida, she had almost no money. She was outspent 16-1 in terms of ads. She was outspent 36-1 in the Florida Democratic Senate primary, and she won anyway. I think the reason she won is because that race didn't get a lot of media attention. Everybody assumed that Alex Windman was going to win, but the only thing that people knew, the one differentiating factor was Windman was taking a ton of money from AIPAC, and Angie Nixon wasn't taking any money from AIPAC. I think that's why she won, because it's not like Sharon. This isn't even true of the left wing, let alone independents or the right wing. Like they have so many ludicrous propaganda that they throw out there. oh, they love Palestinians so much. Some on the left are like, hey, let's treat everybody the same for sure. And I love that, and I'm part of that group. I want everybody to be equal. I don't think the Israelis are superior to the Palestinians, and I think we should treat them equally. But most of the people that are voting aren't necessarily in that camp. They don't disagree with that camp, right? But they're mainly in the camp of, wait, why is Papua New Guinea running us, right? Israel has the same population as Papua New Guinea does. Why is this random ass country giving us orders on who to attack and which war to go to and how we owe them money for another genocide? They're like, no. They're voting on American sovereignty. And so now the Israelis are saying, let's take this concept of American sovereignty that people really like and pretend it's the exact opposite, that it's about communism and radical Islam combination, so that we could scare the living crap out of people so they'll vote to give Israel more money.
Look, people get it. And I'm glad that you brought up Nixon and Vindman and that whole race, because all she did was just not walk away from the truth. She went door to door. She never stopped talking to people, just everyday people who aren't radical in any way, who listened and said, yeah, I don't know why we're pledging our firstborn to Israel and why everything has to be about Israel. She tells the truth when she's asked about it. Vindman was so obnoxiously believing that he was going to win and the Democratic Party along with him that he didn't even spend all his AIPAC money. He was reserving it for the general election. They're so far out of touch with people. And this thing where Israel, and I'm getting texts from, I guess it's Israel or their friends asking me how I feel about it, and it's fascinating, out of the blue. Sharon, how do you feel about Israel? It's me, John. Okay, it's incredible. I wrote them back today and learned some things and got a video that I watched a few first seconds of it and said, oh, it's more propaganda. People are waking up. So this red-green thing, or however you, Marxist, jihadist, however Bannon likes to call it, it's not gonna work if we just keep telling the truth.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was drinking from my mug of AIPAC
I'm
tears.
just talking about one of those. I gotta get my hands on one of those. They're still available, right, Jack?
ShopTYT.com. So guys, because AIPAC is pissed and Israel's pissed, that's why everybody we showed in that montage, Alex Jones I'm not sure about, but everyone else are literally get their talking points from Tel Aviv. That's why they're all saying the same exact thing at the same exact time. So the new talking point is, if you like American sovereignty, you're a radical Islamist and a pinko commie. I don't think it's gonna work, but keep going with your stupid Israeli propaganda. See how it works out for you. All right, we gotta take a break here. When we come back, we've got, Van Jones humiliating himself. I love Israel. I think you should all listen to Israeli propaganda. I am Van Jones. Oh, Jesus. All right, we'll do that when we return.
This guy, Hassan Piker.
All right, let's go to our members on TYT.com. John Campbell Reese says, so in 1960, Israeli special forces snatched war criminal Adolf Eichmann from Argentina. Will 2040 see Palestinian special forces snatch Israeli war criminals like Ben-Gvir? John, I had the same thought as you did. If I was Ben-Gvir, I'd be careful about building gallows. He is as clear a war criminal as has existed in my lifetime. And I do hope that one day there is justice in an official way, in a real way, not vigilante justice, but real adjudicated justice that comes to Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, Netanyahu, and many others in the Israeli government. So Gemma writes in, the Red-Green Alliance means anyone against Santa Claus is a Democrat. They also wrote in, Cenk looks sharp, Sharon looks better.
Yeah. Oh, you got your hair cut, didn't you? It's nice.
I did, but I also agree that you look better. Nostra Science says, far-right Jewish fundamentalist zealot Ben-Gvir would not be out of place with a Waffen SS uniform on during World War II guarding a Warsaw ghetto full of, wait for it, Palestinians. Yep. By the way, isn't it interesting that all over American media, radical Islam, radical Islam, radical Islamists, radical Muslims, right? I don't think, have you ever heard the phrase radical Jew? By the way, if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Radical Muslims should also make you uncomfortable. But they go, no, you're allowed to say it about Muslims and spear the whole religion. But if you say it about Jewish people, you're gonna get your ass canceled for the rest of the time. Back on TYT, Cenk and Sharon with you guys. God, I love reading your comments. I'll read more member comments and super chats in the bonus episode for the members. Hit the join button below or tyt.com/join. Meanwhile, if you or a family member is in Medicare, let me save you a ton of money. No joke, this is verified. So I hate scams, and Medicare is full of them. It drives me crazy. They're targeting seniors and trying to deceive them. So the reason is they take commissions, not from you guys, but from the companies that they direct you to, most of the scammers. So we did our research and we found the one company that doesn't do that, and so that actually helps you and saves you money, and that's Chapter. So let me tell you about them. They're independent Medicare advisors, the only ones that compare every plan nationwide. The best plan for you is out there, and Chapter's job is to find it. People who switched to Chapter last year saved an average of $1,100. And you save that every year going forward. Chapter's advisors are honest. They're not paid to just steer you to certain plans. They work for you, not big insurance. And so, our members have called, and several of them have reported back. They said I was on the best plan, so they're honest. And they didn't get any commission, nothing for that. And so that's why we like them. It's free, it's under 20 minutes. So skip the scams and call Chapter today, 805-201-2275 for Medicare help you can trust. That's 805-201-2275. All right, now let's go to our next story.
The people who want to divide, who want to distract, who want to turn people against each other have super weapons to do so now. Right. Because somebody looks at their phone, they assume that what they're seeing is real. I think that's why we have to take a lot more seriously this information war. There's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week battle for the mind. It's the people who are on Twitch and TikTok and all these other platforms that are getting literally millions and millions of views. And if you care about facts, you're disadvantaged. Even though the fringe media is terrible, you have legacy media that's also terrible and falling for nonsense. Right. For instance, the picture that broke everybody's heart of the so-called starving baby turned out to not be a starving child. They cut out the full image that showed the sibling perfectly fine. That child had a genetic issue. It was not being starved by Israel. Yeah.
That was ritualistic humiliation of Van Jones, paid for by Israel in some fashion. I'm going to speculate later as to why Van Jones has decided to embarrass himself day in and day out, basically whoring himself out to a terrorist government in the middle of a genocide, and why he's working for fascists. It's a really good question. The person in the video with him was Noah Tishby, and everything they said was a lie, a disgusting lie. So we're gonna tell you the whole story, and then I'll come back and continue to tell you what a incredibly disappointing propagandist Van Jones has become for a different country. And I'm gonna speculate about why he's humiliated himself this way in service of a genocide. Van, you should be deeply embarrassed for the rest of your life. So, all right, we'll talk more about Van in a second, but Sharon, tell us the whole story.
Yeah, Cenk, what Van Jones is claiming to be fake is in fact very real. The child that Jones is referencing is Mohammed Zakaria El-Mutawak. He had pre-existing health problems affecting his brain and his muscle development. In addition, you don't have to be one or the other, to being starved by Israel, which made the condition, of course, worse. Mohammed was diagnosed with severe malnutrition by the Friends of the Patient Clinic and El Rantizi Children's Hospital. His mother, Hidayah Al-Mutawak, said that. but there was little they could do. On a recent visit to the clinic, she said, they told me his treatment is food and water, something so basic. Genocide in Gaza never stopped. According to the World Health Organization, 461 people in Gaza have died from malnutrition-related causes. That includes 157 children. 42,000 Palestinians have suffered life-changing injuries in Gaza. 1 in 4 are children. IPC recently published an analysis showing that from mid-April to the end of June, more than 1.2 million people, or 59% of Gaza's population, were experiencing phase 3 crisis or worse levels of food insecurity. This included about 212,000 people in phase 4, which is emergency, New York Times with the reporting. But it didn't stop there, because next Jones and Tishby claimed, we are addicted to seeing this content.
Mainstream media that is falling for propaganda or promoting propaganda and won't apologize.
Right.
And then you have this fringe media that's massively bigger. It requires a different approach to the information war.
Well, this is literally about democracies as we know them. We have to make sure that we verify everything that we see online and don't get hooked into this dopamine addiction that is going to damage us all.
Hey, look, this is not Van Jones's first horrific take on the genocide and murder of children. Remember when he said this on Bill Maher's show? He made a joke about scrolling and only seeing dead Gaza babies. Iran and Qatar have come up with a disinformation campaign that they are running through TikTok and Instagram that is massive, he said on Real Time with Bill Maher. If you are a young person, you open up your phone, all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. That's basically your whole feed. Van Jones's latest joke, of course, not received any better than the prior one. He called a baby it. The child had a genetic issue. It was not being starved by Israel. What a disgrace. Van Jones, I don't know how he's able to get through this. He is a trained media person at this point, Jank, but maybe he's on beta blockers or something, but he seems to do it with ease, convincingly. It is disgusting.
Yeah. So Van Jones used to be an ally of mine. I liked him, and I would say we were even friends. We thought about writing an op-ed together, which was weirdly spiked by CNN. So I had no reason to dislike him. I had every reason to like him, and I did. And then all of a sudden he starts appearing on television and kissing Israel's ass and talking about, oh, there's no genocide and the Israelis are the victims and they're doing self-defense, and then it's justifying them starving children to death. Like, I don't know this guy. I don't know what happened to Van Jones, but I don't know if there's going to be a Scooby-Doo moment and when he takes off his mask and it's actually Ben-Gvir. But what is this? And this is not close. Every time they talk, he's on CNN and they talk about Israel. He's like, Israel's the greatest, Israel's the best. Oh, they're all terrorists, Israel. And it's not a genocide. You don't have eyes, Van? No, you're a giant liar. I know that you know that this is a genocide. And you're purposely choosing to do propaganda for the fascists who are murdering these kids? No, there's no, you can't get lower than that. You can't say, well, look, hey, we disagree a little bit about policy. No. This is not about disagreement. He's actively doing propaganda. What is that video? It's on Instagram. And it's like, oh, remember everybody, if you're seeing Palestinians suffer, it's all made up. Israel hasn't done anything wrong. There's 76,000 dead. There's 167,000 injured in Gaza. They've destroyed 90% of the buildings. We have eyes, Van. Don't trust your lying eyes or ears. Trust me, Israel's paid me a lot of money. So I don't know what it is. So Van, you tell me, was it over $1 million? Was it money? I hope it wasn't money. I hope you're not that disgusting. So I assume it was blackmail. I don't know, you tell me. There's no way you actually believe it. There's a 0% chance. Now, you think Van Jones is so stupid that he doesn't know that when you're starving a population to death, the sick die first and sick kids are actually at the very top of the list of people who starve to death first. That's not, oh yeah, he was already sick. Yeah, oh, a Palestinian baby died who was already sick. Yeah, screw him, who cares? Kill him, kill him, kill him. Israel hasn't killed enough, right, man? So was it blackmail? I guess it was blackmail. I mean, I hope it was blackmail, because if you did this for money, you're way more immoral than I thought you were. Actually, I didn't think you were immoral at all until I started seeing you defend Nazis on TV. And then making fun of dead Palestinian kids? Did they pay you for extra for that? Or was it an extra threat for that? Because this is not the Van Jones that anybody recognizes. This guy used to be on the left. Now he's simping for Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and Netanyahu and saying, now if you ever see the truth, remember, do not listen to the truth. Only listen to Israeli propaganda. Are you kidding me? He's saying the mainstream media should apologize to Israel because they haven't kissed their ass enough. Other than Chris Hayes, which I'm not even sure he's really said it, his guests have said it. None of the cable news anchors or pundits have recognized this as a genocide when 86% of the genocide scholars, all the non-Israeli genocide scholars say, of course it's a genocide. It's not even close. It's not even close. They starved over 400 people to death, let alone, I mean, look, we had 2 doctors here last night on the show, Jewish American doctor and a Muslim American doctor that went to Gaza. And they say, and Dr. Perlmutter explained, 83% of the American doctors that went to Gaza saw children with headshots or chest shots from snipers. Every single day that they were there, they're murdering the kids on purpose. And then they have propagandists like Van Jones appear all over mainstream media and now on Instagram. Now remember everybody, don't listen to anything on Instagram or social media. If it looks like it's real, don't, you'll find out what monsters my benefactors in Israel are. Now, but if you listen to mainstream media and they tell you a bunch of crap about how Israel's the victims and you should murder the Palestinian children, that's true, but not good enough. They should be even bigger slaves to Israel. Get on your hands and knees for Israel. That's what you look like, Van. You look like a bitch. You look like a pathetic servant of Nazis. I hope you enjoy your career. I hope you enjoy your fame and money and whatever else they promised you, because you've lost the respect of everyone. The left. Nobody on the left thinks you're on the left anymore. We all know you're a stooge. And what did you do on the left? Okay, maybe when you were a different guy, you did something when you were in Oakland, but you've been kissing the establishment's ass 24/7 on CNN. I hope you're proud. I hope you enjoy your nice house. Well, this is when Trump became president. Oh, Israel's wars are great. Starve the Palestinians to death. Who cares about them? Their lives don't matter at all. That's what you've become, Van. You disgust me. I hope I was clear enough. All right.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sure.
No, you were plenty clear. Look, it could be blackmail or perhaps it could be a combination. The reason I vote for money and that he's probably putting an extra wing on his already lavish home, and I don't begrudge people for making money, is because this has become his whole brand. You mentioned him being on CNN. It seems like that's the only thing they bring him on for. This is his entire brand. He bet the farm on it. Like, this is it for Van Jones. And I find it difficult to remember the good acts, prison reform, the other things that he did. I don't even know what to make of this guy at all.
I mean, a gimp for fascists, that's where you ended up. Man, that stuff on the tape must have been real bad for you to choose this over that. I don't know what it is, guys. I'm not claiming that I know that he got money or that he's being blackmailed, but I know that there is no rational reason for a person with Van Jones' beliefs to turn around and to sit here and tell you how great a genocide is and how you should all bow down to Israel and not worry too much about how they murdered Palestinian children. I can go on and on. Ben-Gvir bragged today about how he's tougher on Palestinian detainees. That's true. It's a bunch of hostages that they take that they never charge, 9,000 Palestinians. And B'Tselem, an Israeli human rights group, was talking about how they handcuff them so tight on their arms and legs, and they leave it on during medical treatment, during feeding, etc., until their arms and legs have to be amputated. Israeli doctors saying, what are we doing? This is like what Mengele did. But Van Jones says, don't believe the Israeli doctors, don't believe the Israeli human rights, don't believe the Israeli press, don't believe anything other than Netanyahu. And that's who you are, Van Jones? A servant of fascists. Congratulations on your new career. I'm more mad at him because he used to be a good guy. So the heel turn is dramatic and revolting, Young Turks.
You're messing with my Zen thing, man.
All right, let's go to TYT.com again. I Lives in America says Van Jones has been embarrassing himself for a while now. I agree with that. Theater Goddess says this is the propaganda trick of saying things that are true to seem trustworthy, but using it to trick you, like we have a social media problem, but it isn't people spreading the news from Gaza. By the way, I forgot to even mention, then they put Hassan next to Nick Fuentes. Like, look at these terrible anti-Semites. Look at him, he's on the left and has every position I used to have before I became Israel's bitch. Oh, okay, yeah. Ilidium Q36 Dragon says, my wife just now, why do you keep saying merge so loud? No, that's Representative Adam Smith, and Bart's playing it, but that's hilarious.
Merge.
Dirge writes in, maybe about this First Lady of War, maybe she's making sure PD Boy stays off the sauce. Nerd Ferguson says, why would we need defensive missiles? We only need those if we had misguided, inept leaders who needlessly attacked another country. Oh, right, that's exactly what we did. Dragon with a Flag says, when I first saw the headline about this, I thought she was just bringing him to work because he was too wasted to drive. That's again about Hegseth, obviously. Bird and Dragon on Twitch says, I prefer Van Halen. Will73 says, slurp, slurp, lick those boots, Van Jones. These are YouTube members. Giuliano Calza says the Zionists are running out of ideas for their propaganda. Partisan hypocrites everywhere says we're the United States of Israel. There's no medical worker who's safe. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Sharon with you guys. And guys, we are, unlike Van Jones, we don't live large. We're the exact opposite. We are besieged by the forces of Israel inside this country, which are very significant and very wealthy. Oh no, you are not allowed to say things that are obviously true. Well, I just said it, kiss my ass. We, on the other hand, sustain ourselves on $5 and $10 at a time from you guys. So if you can, hit the join button below on YouTube or tyt.com/join, wherever you see this fine program. And by the way, we also take donations through tyt.com/join because we do need it in these very rough times when if you're not pro-Israel, you will be starved of any resources in America. If you are pro-Israel, you'll be showered with money, but those empirical facts should never be said out loud. Otherwise, they'll double cancel you. Again, I refer you to my ass. All right, let's go to the next story. So a pro-Israel think tank has just released a new set of demands. I don't know if they're gonna shoot the hostages if we don't give them everything they want. Who are the hostages? I don't know, the whole country, man. They are occupying Washington. They have our government, 94% of Congress takes money from the Israeli lobby and serves these guys. So when they read us a list of 10 demands that they have from the American people, we're screwed. Our government basically works for them. So these are the things that you're about to give them. Sharon, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, for lack of a better word, Jank. For context, the Israeli government has started to claim that it is no longer interested in freeloading off of the USA. I recently had an exchange, as I referred to earlier, with a pro-Israel chatbot, and here's what it told me. One thing many people don't realize is Israel has recently said it wants to move away from relying on US financial aid and toward more of a strategic partnership from the US. John, who's the pro-Israel chatbot who reached out, is that what the Israeli government really wants, though? So let's ask and find out. Jewish Institute for National Security of America, or JINSA, is a think tank that advocates extremely hawkish positions on behalf of Israel. Last month, after the US had already gone to war with Iran twice, JINSA stated that the United States needed to act even more aggressively against Iran's alleged nuclear program. Whether through diplomacy, military action, or both, the United States needs a far more comprehensive and aggressive approach when it comes to inventorying, neutralizing, and monitoring Iran's nuclear weapons program. January this year, JINSA called on the US and Israel to set private security contractors loose in Gaza. Top-level security contractors are a viable but overlooked option for ridding post-war Gaza of Hamas. They are staffed by well-trained, highly capable military personnel with experience serving in elite units. In fact, they are perhaps the only force besides the IDF itself willing to directly confront Hamas and do the hard work of demilitarizing Gaza. Contractors also have a strong track record. Many have long, reliably, responsibly, and effectively supported American military operations. So you might be tempted to laugh off these policy positions that, are extreme, but JINSA is an organization with real influence here. Several of their policies, their recommendations were included in the latest National Defense Authorization Act passed by the House this past July, like the following: increased cooperation on defense technology, including missile defense, counter UAS, subterranean warfare, extending support to armed forces in Iraq and Syria through 2027, military assistance to Jordan, assistance to Lebanese armed forces to counter Hezbollah. JINSA has published discussions with the following members of Congress: Representative Lou Carrera, Senator Joni Ernst, the late Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Rick Scott, Representative Elise Stefanik, and among others. JINSA is also staffed with officials who have previously served the government of Israel. They have a senior vice president of JINSA, was previously a major general in the IDF for 36 years. General Yaakov Amador, a JINSA Distinguished Fellow, was formerly the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister of Israel. So here's why all of this is important. Earlier this week, JINSA published a piece called "Shifting the Center of Gravity, Transforming the US-Israel Security Partnership." Sounds beautiful. Begins with this remarkable excerpt. For a variety of complex reasons, Israel's political support in the United States has significantly eroded in recent years. Indeed, never in recent memory has there been a larger disconnect between the strategic contributions that an ally consistently makes to the enhancement of US security and prosperity and its declining political standing among the American public. The piece goes on to argue that despite widespread domestic opposition to such policy, the US should further integrate with Israel. Given prevailing political winds at home, upgrading the US alliance with Israel will require shifting the center of gravity of the bilateral relationship from providing US military assistance, however mutually beneficial it may be to both countries, to true mutual collaboration. This should take the form of a new and final memorandum of understanding that keeps US military assistance at $3.8 billion annually on average for the next 10 years, and is paired with new, mostly non-monetary initiatives that deepen and expand the US-Israel partnership. So what kind of non-monetary initiatives? Well, Chris Manahan helpfully provided this summary on X. Let's take a look at it. $40 billion from US taxpayers over the next 10 years. That's a base. US establish a permanent military presence and CENTCOM operational headquarters in Israel. Formally include Israel in the Golden Dome, merge our defense industry base, a limited US-Israel mutual defense treaty to honor the memory of Lindsey Graham. New NATO, where the US organizes arms Arab states in defense of Israel. Membership in such a security structure should be conditioned on Arab members normalizing relations with Israel. So basically that list says Israel gets everything, they get to run everything, but it's touted as this beautiful union, this marriage, this partnership that is just born of the purest form, Jay.
Yeah, so we're asking you guys if you're into it, because we're a fair show. We want to know what you think, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. So we got this poll up at tyt.com. What should our relationship with Israel be? A, complete merger of interests, as this is proposing. B, one of our biggest allies. C, like any other country. D, no relationship at all. I'm voting heavily for D. I'm voting early and often for D. So yeah, we shouldn't have any relationship with a country that just committed a genocide, that's made us go into 7 wars, that cost us $8 trillion and only created more enemies for us, did absolutely no good for us at all. But let's now focus on this new proposals. They say, and as usual, mainstream media is the liars that work for them. They're propaganda agents, so I can prove it. So in this case, they go, giant headlines. Israel doesn't want any more money. Israel, Netanyahu says they're going to wean themselves off. They're going to be independent, etc. Now, do they clarify? Sometimes they'll put in the articles in paragraph 17. Oh, by the way, they mean 10 more years of funding. That's the $40 billion. Wait, so they're not saying they don't want any more money. They're saying they want 10 more years of money. So you wrote in the headline, and now most of the articles don't even mention that they want 10 more years of money. Almost none of them do. So you write that they don't want any more money, when in reality, this is a matter of fact, they actually want $40 billion. So all of those reporters and editors are lying to you on purpose to protect their beloved Israel. They don't want you to know that they want 10 more years of your money. They want $40 billion more. Instead, they write the exact opposite. Israel says they don't want any more money. No, imagine I come to your house and I go, hey Bob, I don't want any more money, except you have to give me $10,000 a year for the next 10 years. You're like, wait, that means you want $100,000. No, I don't want any money, except you have to give me $10,000 for the next 10 years. Then you want $100,000. No, I don't want any money. Write down I don't want any money, but give me the $100,000. That's the gaslighting that's going on here. Gaslighting that's that industrial is a form of torture. The mainstream media in America is trying to torture all of us. Believe things that aren't true. You have to believe it. You have to believe that Israel's the victims and that you owe them the money. You owe them the money. By the way, they don't want any money, but you better give them money. Otherwise, you're an anti-Semite. They don't want the money, but give them the money. Give them the money, right? What is it? Which one is it? New York Times. Which one is it? CNN. We know which one it is. They want 40 billion more for 10 more years. So that is every headline you've seen that they don't want any more money is an outrageous, provable lie. All over mainstream media, all on behalf of Israel. I challenge any editor at the New York Times or Washington Post. I challenge any executive producer or anchor on cable news to debate me on that. Come on, tell me, I can't wait to see how you're gonna want to win this debate. They don't want any more money, give them $40 billion. Which one is it? Okay, I know which one it is. They're gonna steal 40 billion more from you. Okay, then why do they want the bases inside Israel? Before they didn't want that because they thought, well, if you have US bases, we might accidentally get hurt. And of course, an Israeli citizen is worth $1 billion non-Israelis, so we don't want to get hurt. But now they realize, oh wait, if America has bases inside Israel, it'll be a perfect excuse to protect their bases. They have to have perfect protection of Israel. No, Israel can never be harmed, no matter how many of their neighbors they attack, no matter how many genocides they do. Not a single hair on a single Israeli can ever be hurt because now the Americans are. Hey, it's not us. We're protecting American bases. Now we're going to merge the military technology and data under Section 219 to give you a sense of how controlled our government and our media is? Section 219 is the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. It's like saying, hey, why don't we merge our military and give all of our technology and data to Nicaragua? Why the hell would we do that? Or Canada, why the hell would we do that? And they say, nope, you have to do it for Israel, okay? And then in Congress, they didn't allow a vote on it. What do you mean we're not gonna have a vote? What is this? Because Israel runs the place. We're not even allowed to vote on it, because then that would embarrass the representatives who are servants of Israel, who are all going to vote yes because they're paid by Israel. And then the media almost has no coverage of Section 219 at all. Don't tell them if they find out that Israel is then going to take the $1 to $1.5 trillion in our defense budget and have all the benefits of it for free. They go, oh, don't worry, we're also going to protect you. You're going to protect us? How are you going to protect us? This is a country the size of Papua New Guinea. That's their population. They're like, don't worry, Papua New Guinea will defend you. Oh, will you? Okay, no, this is an out and out robbery in every way. And then the last part of it is a new NATO, and we'll include the Arab countries. Well, that sounds nice. So why are they doing that? Because the Israelis love Arabs? No, there's one thing Israelis like about Arabs, it's murdering them. So no, if you read the fine print, what they say is, now if the Arab countries agree that they must do a security deal with Israel, that does not include the Palestinians, meaning you have to betray the Palestinians, say they should be occupied forever or ethnically cleansed. And if you are that much of a dog and servant to the fascists in Israel, then you will be allowed to join our security. Otherwise, you're gonna lose American security and alliance altogether. So the only way that anyone gets to do anything with America is you have to first bow and kneel to Israel. And everything we own, they will own for free, They say, oh, but we'll help you too. We'll give you fake intelligence so you invade Iraq for us. We'll give you fake intelligence so you invade Iran for us. We're so generous, us Israelis. No, thank you. No real American wants any of this crap. We don't want it from any country. It isn't just about Israel. We don't want it to merge our military with Bolivia or Turkey or Russia or Mexico. We don't want it. We don't want it. But it's constantly shoved down our throat by the servants of Israel. 94% of Congress takes money from Israel and like dogs votes to take our money, not their money. They vote to rob us blind and give it to their benefactors in Israel. Now they're saying, well, we got caught with our hand in the cookie jar, so we'll only rob you for 10 more years, but that's okay because we're gonna rob your entire military. CENTCOM is now going to get merged with the IDF. Are you insane? And all of our politicians go, that's so obvious, we don't even want to vote on it. Of course you should all serve Israel. And our media goes, that's so obvious, of course you should serve Israel. I don't want to write about it, I don't want to write about it. If you find out the disgustingly evil plans that Israel has for us to steal everything in this country, well, then you might not love Israel and you might object when all of us serve Israel in unison. You're goddamn right we object. It's called American sovereignty. We should be free. We should not serve this tiny, ridiculous country. And on top of all that, they go, now you owe us for money, so we slaughter Palestinian kids and now Lebanese kids. And by the way, some of those Lebanese kids are Muslim, and we got you used to that by having cable news and all of mainstream media do anti-Muslim bigotry your whole lives. The Muslims are terrorists, terrorists, terrorists. You should hate them. You should pay to kill them, right? All of you at the New York Times, you've done that my whole life. All of you at CNN, you've done that my whole life. Terrorists, terrorists. But when Israel kills their civilians, they're not terrorists. When Ukraine kills the Russian civilians, they're not terrorists. Even when the Russians kill Ukrainian civilians, they're still not terrorists. No one's a terrorist unless they're against Israel. If you're a Muslim or a Christian opposed to Israel, terrorist, they say, because they're dogs of Israel. And they want all of you to be dogs of Israel. And they want you to say, shut up and give me all of your money and all of your military. And so that's what this latest think tank came up with as a brilliant idea. Oh, I came up with an idea. Why don't you give everything you own to Israel? Yeah, and if you don't, we'll call you an anti-Semite and we'll unleash our terrorists inside your country to come and destroy your life. We'll get you fired from your job. By the way, if you've ever criticized Israel online, especially in the old days, now there's too many of us. But now they come after bigger folks like us because we have shows, etc. These days, they're still picking off people one by one. But in the old days, if you're a random person, Bob in Missouri, and you just sort of like, well, I mean, why can't the Palestinians be free? They'd be like, anti-Semite. And they would come to your job. I'm not joking. They're still doing this to us, and they still do it to many, many people in the country. And they don't care what religion you're from, and they do it to Jewish Americans too. But if you show any sympathy for Palestinians, or if you dare criticize Israel, there's a bunch of terrorist thugs inside this country who organize, and they come and they talk to your bosses, they try to get you fired, and they try to destroy your family, and they brag about it. They're on tape saying, oh yeah, we target them, and we try to destroy every part of their lives. Why? Because they're terrorists who work for a different country. And now this think tank says, give me all of your money, all of your technology, all of your military, and if you don't do that, I'm gonna call you an anti-Semite and destroy you. That's the next part of what they do. So we have to free ourselves from these thugs and terrorists that have taken our capital and that have taken our media. Fight back in every way you can. And if you see any of your politicians voting to betray America like this, don't do anything stupid. We're the good guys. We're for peace. We're for nonviolence. And we're definitely for all Americans being equal, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, we love them all, okay? We're not the bad guys. We're not the guys spreading hatred. We're the ones trying to stop the hatred, stop the war, stop the genocide, stop the robbery. But at a bare minimum, here's something we should all do. Vote the bums out. If they're an incumbent, they're almost certainly working for Israel. It's 94% of Congress. If you do your homework, please do it. If you see someone taking money from AIPAC, that means they literally signed a piece of paper saying that they will support Israel unconditionally. No conditions at all, no matter what Israel does to anyone else, including Americans. They say, yes, absolutely, sir, I work for Israel, okay? That if they sign something saying they work for Israel, obviously vote them out. They're betraying you. They took money from a foreign government's lobby to betray you and to imprison America on behalf of Israel. Vote all of them out. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans, vote in your own primaries. And turn off the television set. It's nothing but Israeli propaganda meant to poison your mind, to turn you against Muslims and Christians and Arabs and whoever Israel wants to invade and attack and take over their land next, and also against Americans. How dare you be free? How dare you want to represent your own people instead of the Israeli people? And the bullies and thugs in mainstream media will come and try to destroy your life if you say that. Well, defy them. Turn off the TV sets. Throw away the junk mainstream media papers. There's nothing but Israeli propaganda, and free this country. All right, Sharon, thank you. I appreciate you so much. We're gonna take a break here.
Appreciate you more.
Thank you. We're gonna take a break here. Come back, I'm gonna do the revolution. I'm gonna tell you about that race in Maine. I'm gonna tell you how disgusting Susan Collins is, and you should make sure that traitor never wins again in this country. So let's go, let's do a revolution. We'll do that when we return.
Merge. This is a robbery!
So, welcome to the revolution. I'm Cenk. You know that. Okay, so let me tell you about Susan Collins. There's a race going on in Maine. So when Graham Platter was in the race, you never heard anything about Susan Collins. All you heard was Graham Platter. You know what he did about his girlfriends, this girlfriend, that girlfriend, and they did this tattoo and that tattoo, and he's evil, evil, evil. Why? Because he's anti-Israel. So that's why the mainstream media set out to destroy him, and they did. congratulations. Whether he deserved it or not is a matter up to you guys. But did they target him for destruction? Absolutely. Did they do it because he's anti-Israel? Obviously. So and now I'm worried about Troy Jackson because they have not attacked him. So I'm like, wait, I didn't think he's not taking AIPAC money. I think he's the right guy, and we're backing him. But I'm like almost worried that they're not attacking him. But Susan Collins, the mainstream media, 24/7, moderate, 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 moderate. Oh, what a wonderful moderate, keeps winning. Oh, moderate. Oh, she defies Trump. Oh, all of it is bullshit. So I'm going to prove that to you right now. And so, by the way, you could do this with almost any senator. So like every senator on the Republican side, and I don't know, 75% at a bare minimum of the Democratic senators. So all you got to do is look into their donors, and you'll see nothing but one disgusting story after another. Yet mainstream media just doesn't find it scandalous, can't find it. Oh golly gee, how would I find it? Well, I could tell you right now, and then you could do a story on it. But the New York Times is like, no. We never talk about actual corruption. No, the biggest problem in America is tattoos. Everybody knows that. Oh, actual issues they vote on? Shh. So let's start out simple, and then I want to give you the amazing story about one of our top donors. So, for example, she and her husband, there's a lot of different issues, own shares of Phillips 66 and ConocoPhillips, and she's gotten over 500,000, from oil and gas throughout her career. And then she votes for oil and gas to get $35 billion a year in subsidies. That is so weird. She's getting campaign contributions from them, legalized bribes, and then she's making money off their stocks and being personally enriched. And would their stocks go up if she gives them billions in subsidies? Well, of course it would. Oh, look at that. She's voting for her own interests, both politically and personally, profiting off of that. To me, that sounds like a disgusting scandal that should revolt everyone. And mainstream media is like, I don't see it. Perfectly fine, of course you should be corrupt like that, of course. She's leading in the race, she has the most money. Well, where did she get the money? She got it from corruption, she got it from oil and gas companies and others, and then she gets 500,000 and gives 35 billion. Not of her money, our money, right? But New York Times is like, shh, don't talk about it. Susan Collins is a moderate. Vote for Susan Collins. Vote for her. She's a moderate. Okay, let's find out what else this moderate's done. Oh, of course, over $2.5 million from AIPAC. So that's probably why the mainstream media is like, Susan Collins, we love you, serve Israel, please serve Israel. Oh, you already got bribed by them. Yes. Isn't that, why would a foreign government's lobby give her $2.5 million? For her health, our health? Because they care about Maine? Because they care about lobster? They care about health care? No, because they want her to serve Israel. Is that rocket science? Really, is every reporter in the country that moronic, that stupid, that unintelligent, that they don't know what the $2.5 million is for? They're like, let's see. Is it for extra games of Scrabble? Maybe they're gonna buy Scrabble for the whole country. Is it for McDonald's? They're gonna get everybody Big Macs in the country. Or is it that they want them to vote for unlimited funding and wars for Israel? And every reporter in DC goes, I can't figure it out. I don't know why. And in fact, if you say, hey, it's obviously because they want her to serve Israel, to vote for whatever Israel wants, and she has done that every single time. So it seems like they bribed her, like legally bribed, because Supreme Court made bribery legal. And then she gave them what they wanted. And New York Times and CNN look at that and go, that to a rational human being might sound sensible. But to us, it sounds like you're a Jew hater. Destroy him. Well, how about Susan Collins, who took the money and betrayed her voters? No. Don't tell anyone. No. Protect Susan Collins. Destroy the guy who told you. But that sounds like he's being a journalist. He's actually telling you what's true and proving it with numbers and votes. I know, that's why we have to destroy him. If the country finds out there's a real journalist, then they might realize that we're just marketing executives for Israel. Yeah, I know, they might. So go ahead, any New York Times reporter, go ahead. Tell me why that they gave her $2.5 million. I'd love to have that debate. Piers Morgan, anyone else, come on, let's do that debate. I'd love to see them humiliate themselves. No, the Israeli lobby gave it to her for Norway. And if you complain, we'll call you an anti-Semite and destroy your life. Okay, yeah, no, it doesn't look like you're working for Israel at all. So now we go on. Now let me do one more here. So she got major campaign donations from insurance companies. And that's really weird because she voted with them and they're planning to raise premiums on the average citizens in Maine by as much as 23% in 2026. And Collins didn't do anything about it. And then the ACA enhanced premium tax credits were expiring, and that was going to lead to extra premium costs. And Susan Collins has not voted to extend the tax benefits, the tax credits. So she's not giving you any help with your insurance, and her benefactors are going to raise your premiums by 23%. And she's done nothing to stop them. In fact, she's done many things to help them. And again, the press is like, what are facts? What are numbers? You sound like this is against Big Pharma. We're not talking about Israel anymore. This is a different lobby. I know for reporters, they're like, what are lobbies? I do not know. Oh, they give millions to politicians. I do not know, I never cover it. Why do you think they give it? I do not know, I am a reporter. I am a dumbass. They hire me for being super stupid and not asking the most obvious questions in America. Why do you think the insurance companies might be financing Susan Collins' career? So that she doesn't do anything when they increase rates by 23%? So that she helps support bills where we can't negotiate drug prices? I am a reporter. I do not know what it means to not negotiate drug prices. It sounds like they're killing off capitalism. I mean, you idiots write about socialism and communism and DSA all the time. Oh, it's very dangerous communist socialist takeover. Okay, well, they killed the free market, so we can't even negotiate drug prices. What does that mean? That doesn't even make any sense. We're the only country on earth that's killed off a specific market, saying you just are not allowed to negotiate in this area of the market. And reporters are like, that is perfectly normal. And all of them being bribed, I mean, taking campaign contributions just for your health from the insurance companies is irrelevant, computer error. They caught us, How do I lie next, editor? How do I lie next? How do I protect Susan Collins, the moderate next? What part of this is moderate? This is a fucking robbery. What part of this is moderate? Okay, all right, now we get to the main event. So Mark Rowan is CEO of Apollo Global Management, and he's given $2 million to a PAC backing Susan Collins. Now our press says that's not at all important. We're not going to cover it, and you should totally ignore it. I bet he gave the $2 million because he agrees with her and he wants what's best for Maine. He just has a big open heart for the state of Maine. Okay, well, let me propose some alternate theories for you guys. So in the big beautiful bill that Susan Collins voted for, it extended tax breaks for private equity firms. You're never going to guess what Apollo Global Management is. A private equity firm. So he got a giant tax break, way more than $2 million after he contributed to $2 million. Coincidence, I'm sure it's a coincidence. New York Times, CNN, don't cover it. No, your audience might learn something. No, your readers might actually know how disgustingly corrupt our government is. No, don't do it. It might hurt Mark Rowan or Susan Collins' feelings. Instead, why don't you just keep calling her a moderate? So then, we're not anywhere done yet. In 2020, that same donor backed Collins for re-election. But why? After she did what? She had proposed an amendment that he disagreed with, Rowan disagreed with. She defeated her own amendment. She's like, I'm so sorry. You're giving me millions of dollars? I didn't know what I was doing. I'm so sorry. That might accidentally help the people of Maine. No, I withdraw the amendment. No, of course, yes, sir, please, sir. But New York Times will tell you, no, it was random. No, she got the millions of dollars from him and then took away the amendment he doesn't like and gave his firm a giant tax break. Coincident, total coincidence. And if you don't say that it's a coincidence, say it, say it. If you don't say it's a coincidence, then you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy. No, no, no. You know, guys who run private equity firms love to give away millions of dollars for no reason. They don't like money, they don't care about money. He's just doing it for everybody's goodwill. I mean, I don't know, if you work at the New York Times and you're one of the schmucks who write stories like this, what's your reason? Why do you think he's giving her the money? Why do you think she's voting with him every single time? I never see a counter explanation. I just hear, don't talk about it. Don't talk about money in politics. It's conspiratorial. No, it's Susan Collins is just having a debate. She just changed her mind right after she got the giant check. Okay, well, there's more. So, by the way, of course, Rowan also supports Israel. Apollo Global Management, linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Shh, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. Nobody did anything wrong. And by the way, to be fair, I have no idea what Mark Rowan did or didn't do. I would hope that our government would investigate. There are others at Apollo Global Management that have been, greatly detailed with Epstein, but never pursued, no justice. Oh, they all give money to politicians, but yet their connections to Epstein were never investigated. Another coincidence, total coincidence. No, they give away millions of dollars in Wall Street for free just because, God, they love the people of Maine so much. That's why it makes the last part so weird. So there was a paper mill in Maine, and guess who bought it? Oh, Apollo Global Management did. Well, that's going to bring so many jobs to Maine because they care so much about the people of Maine. And that's, they're going to help the state. Now it makes sense. Susan Collins is trying to help Maine. That's why they paper mill, except they ran it into the ground and shut down the mill and eliminated more than 1,000 jobs in Bucksport and Jay, Maine. And now wait. You think, oh, so they're actually betraying the voters of Maine. They actually did damage to Maine. Then they paid off the senator to Maine so that she wouldn't do anything to protect the citizens she's supposed to represent. Now that would be a logical conclusion if you're reading the New York Times or watching CNN. Instead, what you'll hear is, first of all, nothing. They'll never cover it because that's their beloved Susan Collins, who backs all the corporate PACs, who backs foreign governments, who, so moderate. What part of this is moderate? Killing off jobs in Maine is moderate? Not negotiating drug prices and killing off the free markets is moderate? Backing a genocidal government with our money to start more wars that 80% of Americans are opposed to is moderate? How could it be a moderate position to be with the 20% and not with the 80%? Moderate. See, there's no facts in the journalists at the New York Times and CNN. No, there's just nothing but propaganda. You just call Susan Collins moderate. You never talk about the money. You never talk about the jobs that were lost. But wait a minute, I promised you one more insult to injury. So what are they gonna do with those paper mills where everybody lost their jobs? They're gonna turn them into data centers. That's who Susan Collins is. Oh, but no, if you find out what Susan Collins actually does, you might never vote for her again. So, tattoo, did you see his tattoo? Oh my God, he's got the wrong kind of tattoo. Oh, did you see what the girl he was dating in 1987 said? Oh my God, no. Okay, that's fair, we can talk about that. But we're also gonna talk about Susan Collins and all this, what appears to be an out and out bribes for payback to her benefactors, to her donors. No, Jake. We're only gonna talk about the tattoos and the girlfriends. We're never gonna talk about Susan Collins because we're objective reporters. Are you? Because you don't look objective at all. So if you live in Maine, let me tell you right now, if you make the mistake of voting for Susan Collins one more time, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna rob you blind. So she got $2.5 million from AIPAC. She's gonna return it in the term. First of all, in the next 10 years, Israel's asking for another $40 billion. So that $2.5 million well spent on that alone. So that's AIPAC. There's the oil and gas companies that have given her $500,000. There goes your $35 billion in oil subsidies. She is going to rob you in every imaginable way. And meanwhile, the media is going to say, shh, don't let anybody find out about the robbery. Why? Because they're the getaway drivers. And if anyone's opposed to her, Then all of a sudden, oh, I'm a reporter. Let me get my reporter hat on here and put the pen in here and look like I'm a real reporter. Oh, what kind of tattoos does Troy Jackson have? Let's look into it right away. Which girlfriends did he have? Okay, how about all the money that Susan Collins is getting and all the jobs that were lost? Shut up, anti-Semite. Moderate, 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 moderate. And look, I have all the accoutrements of being a journalist. I don't think you can even see the pen anymore. Okay, yeah. If you vote for Susan Collins, you're voting for a robbery. It's a robbery of you, your family, your house, and it's gonna go all to her donors. You'd be nuts to vote for deeply corrupt politicians like Susan Collins. I think I've made myself clear. And by the way, I showed you facts to prove it. I'd love to see the New York Times or CNN prove me wrong. Do a counter story. See this outrageous guy, Cenk. Now, the reality is, obviously the 2.5 million from AIPAC was to plant more flowers in the great state of Maine. And the 500,000 from the oil companies was for more lobster rolls for the citizens of Maine. And 1,000 jobs that were lost and turned into a data center so your electric bills could go higher had nothing to do with the $2 million that Mark Rowan gave her. No, that was of course for more rainbows and unicorns in Maine, obviously, because we're the New York Times, the paper of record. We're CNN. All we do is protect deeply corrupt politicians. I'm sorry, I meant moderate, 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 moderate. Vote for Troy Jackson. Okay, I'm gonna take a break here. Members, stay around, hit the join button, tyt.com/join. I'm gonna interact with you guys, read your comments, and probably do more rants because I'm pissed. We'll see you there.